I've gone out there. The thing is, are we recording?
Yeah, we're recording, but I haven't started yet. So,
okay. Well, the thing is that you got to go out there with the intention, and you got to be open about it, and I don't think that they need to be fucking worshipped or any of this other bullshit. Just be like, hey, I'd really appreciate it if you can show yourselves. And honestly, you can just say it in your mind, dude. It's all like telepathic shit, which is really strange, but.
From the government, and I'm here to help. Take a look. It's in a book. Members of the use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda. Let's watch. Figure it out.
Welcome back, everybody, to another wonderful episode of the We Figured It Out podcast. We are the End of Days Bestfriends. I am your boy, Michael.
And I'm Matt.
And today we have a special guest. Sometimes we got guests, sometimes we don't. Jonathan he's MetaMystics host, gets down though. Really, dude, you're really good into the, I don't want to say occult because that's not right, and I feel like magic gets the wrong connotation too, but you're what would be your word for it? Esoteric, sacred, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, all of those words, all of them. Cool. I love the occult. I love all of esotericism. And to be honest, people get kind of spooked by the word occult, but it just means hidden. And to be honest, maybe for, going all the way back, you had to be initiated into certain mystery schools and certain, cults essentially in order to be able to perceive this kind of depth of knowledge that they talk about. And the reason why you had to do that was because it's look, if you're just kind of like a passerby and you're just trying to collect information just on the quickness, and you're never going to understand it. It takes devotion. It had you have to give your life to it in a way. And at first I was like, oh man, give your life to it, because you hear about Pythagoras and his number cult. Literally you'd have to go 7 years totally silent. You couldn't say a word in order to be initiated, and there's magic in all of it, really. But the truth is about all of it, and this is my interpretation of it because I've looked in almost all of the different cults. I've looked in just about all of the different esoteric kind of mystery schools and whatnot. I myself am a Rosicrucian. And so I know a little bit about initiation and, mystery schools and stuff like that. I'm still very new to it, but I understand it at least at a beginner level about what it kind of means to be initiated. Now, the mystery school, the Rosicrucians that I, joined was only a few months ago. And it's not it's not like a fraternity or sorority where you got to, be hazed or anything like that in order to achieve some kind of initiation process, in order to be invited into the cult or what have you, right? It's not like that. But what is strange is that I don't know how it happened, dude, but as soon as I signed up, I went through the worst 2 months of my life. And it was I was being tested day after day with something brand new that was going to kick me right in the balls. And it sucked, dude. It was horrible. And things that I can't even say on the show. I'll tell you after the show, but I literally, it's so bad that I can't say it. And I had to go through that. And I kind of, at a certain point, I was halfway through it, and I was like, God, universe, source, whatever it is, please, I literally can't take any more of this. And, whatever that eternal power is you can take more. You can take more. You opened up Pandora's box. You wanted to be initiated into the secret mystery school. And so, and maybe that's what that was about. Maybe it was just a coincidence that all of that happened and just so happened to coincidentally perfectly time itself to me joining the Rosicrucians. I like to look at it as initiation. I don't consider anything a coincidence. It's all synchronicity. It's all part of the plan. I don't even know. It's so much deeper than we originally thought. But I do want to say one thing as far as the mystery schools go. as I was alluding to earlier, you originally kind of had to be initiated into a lot of this stuff. And the reason is because not only did they not want just regular passerbys into it, but it was because there are some people that are just incapable of comprehending things at a deeper level, and I think that everybody has, that's not even the right word. I think that everybody's capable of doing it. It's that not everybody has the will to do it. It's one of those things. It's really strange. And you have to go into the deeper parts of yourself with a lot of this kind of stuff. And you have to understand that, like, the scariest part is that the world is not what we think it is. And I'm not talking about from a conspiratorial angle. I'm not talking about the reptilians. I'm not talking about like the fucking Illuminati or anything like that. Like that's kindergarten compared to what we're talking about. Yep. Like, literally, you have to understand that, like, the world that you grew up in, the people that you loved, like the amazing experiences that you've had, it's not what you think it is to such a core level that it almost scares the shit out of you. And you can be initiated in the long way, or you can be initiated in the short way, or through a series of short ways. That being maybe through psychedelics. And a lot of people are definitely not ready for that kind of initiation, which is why you need to take a little bit of time to initiate or to integrate that kind of information. Like, dude, I know some people that have done DMT like 1,000 times. I'm like, dude, there's no way. I can't do that.
Yeah, no.
Like, I need, dude, it's been, let me think, probably like 9 or 10 months since my last psychedelic trip, because it was so soul breaking. Like, I literally said, me and my cousin were both just like, dude, we need some time. There needs to be time in between the next one, because it was like, dude, I thought I was legit gonna die. Like, it was pretty crazy. But
those are the worst. Well, those are good ones too, but they're terrible. And then they sit with you for days after it, like you still feel it there. That's what I hate about it.
It scared the ever living fuck out of me. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, there's ego death. And like, I had one of those on your regular DMT, which that definitely scared me, big time. But then there's like, I thought that I was physically going to die. And that's like a whole nother level, dude. Like, there's one thing about, like, you think you're going to die in a dream, and then you eventually wake up and you're like, all right, okay, it was just a dream. It was just a series of chemicals flooding my brain and whatever, right? Maybe I took on a little bit of too much of my own DMT in order to give me that wacky ass dream, whatever, right? But like, then there's other trips. Like that trip, dude, it really messed me up for a little while, but I'm thankful for it. Like, because I found out what my greatest fear was. And that's something that I can now learn to not necessarily conquer, but learn to work with.
Yep.
And so they're all great teachers, really. But that's the fast track to breaking the world wide open, for sure.
Oh yeah. This was the last time I did like very out of body high or psychedelic. Now I keep it kind of toned, maybe 3 grams, something like that. But we did some, and then I felt like I had found a part of the world that opened up, and it was almost like Matrix agents came and took me and took everything that I knew in my life. Right? It was just a void of nothing, and I was like, I don't know if I could do that again. And it was rough.
Oh, dude, they definitely be rough, but those are the best ones. I mean, we go back because we hope to have a good trip. Nobody like goes into it and is like, oh man, I hope that I'm about to die, but like, that's the thing, is that, dating all the way back, probably even to, pre-ancient Egypt, it was like a practice to, have you ever seen Game of Thrones?
Man, we were just talking about this. I have not even an episode, not even 10 minutes of it. No.
You got to get on that. It's really good.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
For sure.
But they have a clan in there, and I can't remember what their clan's called. It's been a while since I watched it, but like, their saying is what's dead may never die. And so they, like, in order to be initiated and, propped up as a king or a queen or a prince or whatever in this clan, whatever they are, they have to like drown. Like, they drown themselves because they're like seafarers. They're like they're the ones that are known for having the ships and, being the masters of the sea, essentially. And in order to be initiated into knighthood or kinghood or what have you, you literally have to fucking drown. And as you're drowning, it's like your whole life flashes before your eyes. And it's a crazy thing. But once you have that experience, you know, they bring you back to life. You know, they'll do a little CPR, bring you back or whatever, but you're dying. You know, like you're going through the death process. And the reason why is because they want their king, and I would imagine this is true of all great leaders of any great nation that has ever prospered. They want their kings and their leaders to be fearless. And the main thing about like being fearless, like most people's greatest fear is to die, right? Like no matter what your beliefs are, they're just beliefs until you know. Yep. You know, like they're kind of placeholders. It's like, I think that this is what's going to happen, but like, we'll see, you know, kind of deal.
Hope I'm right.
I hope I'm right. You know what I mean? And so whenever you actually have the opportunity to die or have a near-death experience, as what he was going through, you're able to see that like your spirit or your soul or your essence or whatever you want to call it continues. And it's still exactly you. And that's what, dude, I've read thousands of near-death experiences, and 99% of them, probably even more, will say, you know, whether it was a good thing that they experienced in the near-death process or a bad thing, whatever, maybe they went to hell, maybe they saw the devil, you know, they range. But 99.99% of them will all say, I no longer fear death. And that's a powerful thing, because if you no longer fear death, then you're not, like, imagine a little kid, dude. A little kid, dude, I got a 3-year-old son. Mm-hmm. That little dude is not scared of shit because he hasn't thought about the concept of death.
Yeah, they're not bound to anything but fun, you know, they're living.
Oh, dude, he's like, what's that little crazy dude off of the Wild Thornberries? The one that's just wild. And dude, he's just like that. And so, you know, I think that whenever you can go through that near-death process, you learn that death is not the final destination, and therefore you no longer have a fear of dying. And so if you would have a king or a queen or a president or what have you with that kind of mentality, that leader is going to have an extra set of balls that somebody who has never gone through that process doesn't have, you know? And there's just something special about all of that. And so that's what I'm really, really like addicted to learning about. And the same thing with like the Egyptians, like the ancient Egyptians, they used to say, well, all of the sarcophaguses, they would like essentially have these ritualistic killings or what have you. But that's not really what was going on. And there's no proof that there was ever any even dead bodies found in any of these sarcophagus. And so you start going into the Egyptian lore and you learn about Osiris and Isis and, you know, all the different Egyptian characters, you know, Thoth and what have you. You understand that like those sarcophaguses, especially the one in the in the king's chamber, it's built around such a resonance to where if you speak, it carries a different frequency than if you're just speaking, you know, somewhere else. And so what they would do is they would have like, you know, a circle of people that would stand around this sarcophagus, and the king or whoever would go through this ceremony. It was a ritualistic death and rebirth. That's what they practiced. And that's, which I find so fascinating, because it's like, man, these people were addicted to learning about what is next and how can we make this life a little bit easier. And the easiest, like the way that you can go about making this life as easy as possible is like, well, shedding that fear of death, you know? I love all that.
You think the sarcophagus is like their deprivation chamber almost? Like they would use it alive?
Oh yeah, for sure. And there's a lot of different stories about, you know, how they were using them, and, you know, maybe the certain different chants that they would sing or certain instruments maybe they would bring inside the temple or whatever in there with them. But it's 100% certain, at least from my research, that it was a ritualistic death process, not because they were addicted to killing each other. It's not like that. Like, you know, it's not like people get all hung up on the Tibetan book of the dead and the Egyptian book of the dead and all this kind of stuff. And they're like, oh my God, these people were just so obsessed with death. No, They were obsessed with what happens after death. So that way you wouldn't have to lead people astray and say, oh, believe in this, believe in that. I don't know, dude. I think that there's just so much more into that. And especially with that Asi Hawass or whatever guy from Egypt that he's going on and making his rounds. He's like the leader of all the ancient Egyptian lore. It's like, this guy's so full of shit, dude. And that's why it's so important everybody does their own research on this kind of stuff. But as a result, with everybody doing their research, you got some people taking scans and radars and seeing that there's some kind of tubes underneath. And are they real? Is it not? Is the LiDAR something that we can really rely on and depend on? Nobody knows, dude, because nobody's allowed in there. You're not allowed to dig it up. It's like forbidden to do any of this kind of stuff.
Yeah, what's it matter? It's all going to be some image, that we can see and nobody can get to. I would just love, though. Who fucking cares? Just dig that shit the fuck up. That's how I feel about this stuff. Just fucking dig it up. We're going to build all these crazy data centers and use all this crazy fucking technology. Dig the old shit up, then let's see what they have.
Well, supposedly they have proven with some kind of certainty that there is a second Sphinx, which I find pretty interesting. Especially whenever you look at some of the ancient paintings and even within tarot cards, anytime you see a Sphinx, there's always two of them. And just the fact that there's only one of them out there, in Egypt in that Giza period, or in that Giza place, it's like
China's sitting on stuff though. Like China refuses to even dig into some of this.
Yeah,
some
they don't
of their
let
stuff.
people into theirs.
Yeah, they themselves won't even look into it. I mean, it's just because it's always going to be there though in their mind,
What I wanted to get into, see, this is kind of a perfect segue too, and this is exactly why I brought you on, because you were talking earlier about dying again almost, or NDs and the initiation process and facing things. But I kind of wanted to bring the idea open that I think I'm starting to lean towards now a consciousness, almost is more of like a library. And right now we're pulling one book off the shelf, and we can't essentially jump, because we're in that book right now. We can't essentially jump to a different book until we know how, but we can be on the same shelf, I guess you say, with universe travel or quantum physics and theory, none of it's proven, quote unquote proven.
Right.
But that's kind of what I wanted to get into, because I know, dude, you read a lot of stuff on that kind of things too.
Especially, in the quantum realm, dude. That is, yeah.
And you're QHHT, so it's like HQQT. There you go.
QHHT.
There you go. I said it right the first time.
Quantum healing hypnosis therapy.
Yes. So I want to start to get into that with you, kind of multi-universe theory, I guess, string theory, fate even, or is it because we're all here at one period of time? Is that really what deja vu is? All that stuff. And
I'll tell you what. I think the most important thing that any of us can ever do is try and figure out why we're here, why we're experiencing what we experience. Why are we experiencing what it's like to exist in a human body? And why are we experiencing what it's like to exist on Earth with all these minerals and this air and it's it's so strange to exist in this kind of medium. And if you just kind of take it at face value and listen to somebody else, you might believe it, but you're not going to know it. That's the one thing that the occult and esotericism has taught me, is that you should be using belief as a tool, not as a crutch. It's one of those kind of things. Okay. So for example, I do tarot readings just about every episode on my show. And I believe that it's going to give me the correct card that kind of aligns with the essence of the show, or the essence of the topic, or the essence of the guest, or what have you. I believe that. And so essentially, whenever that card perfectly pops up every single time, and it's always perfectly correlating, it is freaky. It's almost scary how on point it is every single time. Whenever that happens, I'm not looking at these fucking pieces of paper with pictures on them like they're magic. They're just magic. Anybody can draw this. It's nothing special. Some people think, well, I know that a witch did a ritual over them and therefore brought in some kind of magic. No, the only magic there is the magic that you project onto it. It is. And so in essence, you can use belief as, dare I say, a divination tool. And so, and you have certain people, I've talked to a lot of magicians and a lot of witches and a lot of wizards and a lot of people that are in the light side and the dark side. Not because I want to do it either way, but I'm curious as to how it all works. I'm not scared to go into the deep waters. Show me how deep it is and why is it deep? Like, what makes it deeper than any other kind of knowledge? I want to know the fucking gears about how all of this works. And that way I don't have to take anybody else's word for it. Whenever I first got into conspiracy theories, I was on the cult of conspiracy for 5+ years. And every single time we had a guest on that ever talked about the occult or any time they ever talked about any kind of esoteric topic, they always grouped Aleister Crowley and Helena Blavatsky basically in the same circle. It's like, well, they were both in the occult, so they're both evil. It's like, no, that's not correct either. Because I think that we can look at the history of Aleister Crowley and be like, okay, he kind of played by his own rules. He did a lot of shady ass shit. And that's not to say that he was a fraud by any means, because I think that he knew what he was doing. He was working with energies that are ancient, the Eleusinian and all that kind of stuff, right? Eventually ended up forming Thelema and these kind of mystery schools and what have you. Blavatsky is entirely different from that. And this is, dude, I've read a few of her books now. I've read a couple of her understudy books or her understudies books that, basically her students that she kind of took on and helped initiate. None of it is evil at all. It's just a different way of looking at the reality that we exist in. And some people might consider that heretical or blasphemous to kind of look at it that way, but it's all the same thing. We're all just trying to figure out the same thing. We call it different words, and for some reason, people get upset whenever you mention it. Like I've heard, and this is not to hate on any one religion or anything out there, but I've heard religions say that meditation is evil. I'm like, do you have no idea what meditation is?
It's literally prayer.
Just, you're sitting with yourself. That's it. It's just you. Like you're not doing anything crazy. You're not shooting up any drugs. You're not doing anything wild. You're not doing anything blasphemous or heretical. You're sitting with yourself. And the point is, a lot of people say, well, the point of meditation is to clear your mind of thoughts. That's actually not true. You're not supposed to clear your mind of thoughts. You're supposed to kind of, allow the thoughts to come, but don't see the thoughts as don't see the thoughts as something that you're doing. See them as something that is happening that you can observe almost from a third person perspective. And whenever you can do that,
right?
Yeah. And whenever you can do that, you're learning not to identify with your thoughts anymore. And if you can learn not to identify with your thoughts, oh my God, does this world get easy? There's no more stress. There's no anxiety. There's no more fear, because now you understand that those thoughts are going to happen whether you're paying attention to them or not, and that's it. I don't even know where I was going with that. What was the original question? Sorry, I kind of go down these weird.
No. That was good. We were talking about like consciousness and how it actually is, you kind of materialize it as yourself, and, the occult gets a bad rap on that. Is kind of where you went for a second. Blavatsky, I know I never really actually thought about her as an occultist. I thought of her more as like a not Western medicine person, like Hinduism and Indian type, or, red dot Indian, not tomahawk.
Yeah. Well, and she actually got a little bit of a pushback because she wasn't including the Western traditional, versions of esotericism. She was mainly trying to bring all of the Eastern esoteric orders kind of together and, take a sifter and see what's left at the bottom kind of deal. And one person that decided to kind of push her back a little bit on that and say, look, I understand that maybe you have a bone to pick with Catholicism or Christianity or any of the Abrahamic religions. I understand that because everybody's calling you a demon, everybody's calling you a devil worshiper. I can understand, at least from my perspective, I can understand why you would be like, you know what, fuck all that. I'm just going to do my own thing then, because I get that on a regular basis. You can imagine back in the late 1800s, she was probably getting it way more than any person that is looking into the occult nowadays.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, dude, you're like a century removed from being hung for talking about this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and she was performing it, right? She was essentially like hosting things where like objects would move, or she would get supernatural messages. That's a lot of people said that shit was fake too. I don't know. I wasn't there. But
yeah, it got infiltrated in weird ways, but the theosophy in general really actually kind of goes hand in hand with a lot of the Rosicrucian beliefs, which I love. I kind of group them both together personally. I don't see that they battle up against each other, but as far as the Western esotericism kind of making its entrance into the occult, which really started in the early 1900s with Rudolf Steiner. Rudolf Steiner considered himself a Christian mystic, essentially. Not necessarily that he was, always a Christian his whole life, but Christianity was kind of the mystical lens in which the West looked at the unseen, essentially, right? And so it was better understandable. Like, you can talk about Lord Shiva. Most people in the West don't know who the fuck that is. You know what I mean? But if you talk about Jesus, or you talk about John the Baptist, or you talk about James or Luke or Mark or whoever, right? Like, people kind of have an idea about who you're talking about and what you're referring to, because it's something that you can just look up and, in any hotel nightstand that you stay at kind of deal. Like, the Bible's everywhere, right? And so Rudolf Steiner decided to implement all of that, and he essentially formed the Western esoteric, or modern Western esoteric kind of chapter within Rosicrucianism, which is kind of crazy. So he was originally a theosophist. He started out like he loved everything that Helena Blavatsky started, and a lot of people don't know that Rudolf Steiner was into theosophy and group him in with Steiner. But I mean, that's where kind of he got his legs under him as far as understanding the occult and mysticism and whatnot. And so he was doing the same exact thing, just from a Christian mystic kind of lens. And it's actually amazing, dude. He talks about like the steps you need to take in order to prepare yourself for initiation. And I actually just got done doing this show last night, reading about it. I have his book. It's called How to Know Higher Worlds. Dude, it is deep. If you're ever interested in like Christian mysticism, it's awesome. I'm not even a Christian, and I love it. It's sick.
I'm like you. I just want all of it. I am a Christian, but I want my hand in all of it. Like, I want to know why. I want to know why it's bad, or why it's good, or any of that shit. So yeah, no, I keep buying books too, like crazy right now. So that's good. I'm like 15 behind on reading them now, but whatever.
Same.
Yeah, I'll catch up. I'll catch up someday.
It's a pain in the ass to try and interpret a lot of this stuff, especially like Blavatsky's. What was her book called?
She has The Secret Doctrine, and what was it?
The Secret Doctrine. So I read The Land of the Gods, which is actually pretty easy to read.
That's what I was thinking. The Isis one and The Land of the Gods.
Yes. I haven't read the Isis one yet, but Land of the Gods, I can't recommend that book enough. It is so damn good. But The Secret Doctrine, dude, that is difficult. Like, that's like trying to interpret the King James version of the Bible. It's like, nobody talks like that anymore, And she also includes like a lot of Eastern mystic kind of words that you don't really know the meaning of. It's like, unless you're already in that circle and you understand Hinduism, you understand Buddhism, you understand Taoism and all this other kind of stuff, it's like, good luck. I got to like page 10 and I was like, it's going to take me an hour to read each page. Like, it's too much.
Yeah.
But Land of the Gods, I love.
When you got to read it and then you're like, what did I just read? And then you got to read the page again and you're like, fuck, I lost it.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. You think you know things, until you read that.
Okay. So on meditation here, right? And I keep I keep going to consciousness, but nothing in the earth is fucking still, like atoms are constantly moving. Gravity, right, is holding on to things, moving it around all the time. Like realities are supposedly bouncing in and out. So to me, I'm like, why would the consciousness be sitting still? And today, this is kind of what got me on the idea. I just wanted to point this out. You keep hearing people being like, man, what happened to the timeline, right? We're in the wrong fucking timeline right now. So that's what kind of got me on this. And I'm like, well, dude, maybe we are, or we're exactly on the right timeline, and it's the book chapter right now that we're fucked in. But in meditation, do you think you can like bounce a consciousness around? What is consciousness first? Let's start there. What do you think it is?
I think consciousness is the makeup of, see, it's a simple but hard thing at the same time to try and describe it. I think everything is consciousness. I think that which we call God is just a higher form of consciousness. And therefore, we are what they would say is the lower form, especially whenever you get into Neoplatonism. There's like 4 stages of emanations of God. So you have, as Plato would describe, you would have the one or the source or God, as some people might say. And God wants to get to understand itself, or maybe it wants to manifest something and create something. And so it basically creates a duplicate copy of itself so it can kind of like see itself in the mirror to understand what the fuck it is, right? And so God essentially creates this next emanation, and that's called the nous. And the nous, it's like, I mean, it's basically an identical twin to God. Now, it doesn't have all the powers that the God source one or whatever has, but it is made in its image, which, take that with a grain of salt wherever you want to go. But so the nous is made in its image, and it's like, well, the nous can't see the source. Like it probably knows that it's there, but it can't see it. And so now it wants to know what it looks like, and it wants to create. So then it creates the next stage of emanation, which is known as the world soul. And the world soul is like where you get all of the ghosts and the angels and the spirits and the demons and the egregores and the archetypes and all of that kind of stuff. That's where all of that is really hanging out, according to Plato, right? And that's called the world soul. Beyond that, it emanates. The world soul emanates something, and it creates the physical world. And so essentially, if you look at it like that, we are the farthest manifestation. We are the farthest manifested emanation of the source that created everything in the first place. It's not to say that like we're so far from God and we're so far removed from God or anything like that, because everything around you looking through that lens is God. Like everything is. It's just kind of like a lower vibratory frequency of that higher thing. And a lot of people will go into meditation, or they'll join these mystery schools, and they're trying to understand God and trying to get to know God and trying to understand their highest version of themselves. Aleister Crowley called it the holy guardian angel, or the higher guardian angel, or something along those lines. Called it the HGA. But essentially, Dolores Cannon would say something similar. Dolores Cannon, I don't think she came up with the term, but she always referred to it as the higher self. And so the higher self is essentially the thing that is kind of governing us. So if you want to look at it like this in a really strange way, maybe our higher self is the next stage of emanation that is closer to the source, right? And so whenever you pray or you meditate or you're trying to, I don't know, whatever you do to reach out to the other side, you do it through that cord of the higher self of yourself. And so it's all really one thing. Imagine it like this. I always try to explain it, and I always want to put it in the simplest terms, because I'm a simpleton. Dude, I played football for 20 years. I can't tell you how many damn concussions I've had. I need everything broken down to like a 5th grade level. So I like to look at it like this. Whenever you go to sleep and you're inside of a dream, And whenever you're in that dream, maybe you see yourself and maybe you look different than how you look in this reality. Maybe you're not even a physical form, but you know that you're still existing because you're experiencing. Like, to exist is to experience, right? And so you're still experiencing whatever is going on in that dream. And a lot of people will have dreams that maybe they're in a house full of in that world, family members, but you've never met them in this world. Or maybe you're working a job that you never worked at before in reality, but whenever you're in the dream, it seems familiar and you know exactly what to do, that kind of thing, right? Or maybe you're in places that you've never been, but whenever you're there, it's familiar. It's kind of strange how that all kind of really works that way. Mm-hmm. And some people will say, well, it's just the chemicals in your mind that is making things feel familiar. That's the same thing they try to say about deja vu. It's just a chemical that is making you think that, but that's not actually what's happening. That's why I say science can only take us so far. Like, science doesn't understand consciousness. As a matter of fact, science tries to battle against consciousness. There's the whole hard problem of consciousness. But what I love is that the philosophers, the New Age, I don't even want like the term New Age personally, but the current day modern philosophers, the bigger name philosophers of our current time are now all on this consciousness train in order to try and explain what all of this is. And so I don't know. I don't know if I answered your question, but that's my turn. Oh, I'm sorry. The dream world. That's where I wanted to finish at. Sorry, dude.
No, it's perfect. That's what I wanted to hear.
So in the dream world, there's nobody else in that dream from your reality that's actually there. And that's why most people, whenever they dream, even if you dream of somebody in your real life, chances are they didn't experience that same dream, right? Like, that could just be a memory. Maybe it's a parallel reality or what have you. But that is a dream that essentially you created, right? Like, that is something that, if you want to even go scientifically, that's something that your mind created. That dream, that experience that you had. And some people are really affected by this. You wake up either, I can't tell you how many times I've had a dream. I wake up crying, my pillow's soaked, because I think that my dog died or my mom died or one of my kids died. Or, it's a nightmare kind of thing. And it's so damn real that it affects me even in, my reality. Right. Yeah. And conversely, I mean, you've had plenty of other dreams where you're like, you wake up and you're like, no, let me go back. I need to go back. And of course,
those are the worst ones.
Mm-hmm.
I know. But all of that, every single pixel of that dream is a projection that you manifested in that moment of a sleep state, right? Like, you projected that. Like, that is all of your creation. Every pixel, every person, every thought, every word, every place, everything. It is all something that you created in your mind. Like, I think that's not that hard to get by.
Why the familiarity then, right? Like, you see it on the internet all the time, or like the back rooms photos, everybody's seen it, or it feels familiar to everybody. Like, I've had a dream and then I can get out of there and I go, it feels like I've been here before. And other people, feel that same way about certain things.
Well, if everything is consciousness, then that means that everything is one thing. And if you're tapping into the source of all there is, call it the Akashic records, call it whatever you want. If you're tapping into that, then you have access to all of that information, because if everything is one thing, that means you're that one thing. And if you're that one thing, then you would have access to all of those memories. That's why whenever I give people past life regressions, dude, you know how many people have been past life regressed, hypnotized into they were Elvis in a past life, or they were Patsy Cline in a past life, or they were so-and-so of some kind of utter importance, right? Yep. It's not necessarily that one individual spirit was once this other individual spirit and they're completely separate from everybody else's experience. It's that consciousness as a whole experiences what it's like to be Michael. Consciousness as a whole experiences what it's like to be Matthew or Jonathan or anybody listening. So my brother is actually my new co-host. I had him on just last night, and I told him this, and it's like you could see that his brain was about to explode. So if consciousness is really all one thing, then that would mean that if I, not Jonathan, but the consciousness, the spirit, the spark, whatever you want to call it, if I incarnated into my brother Cody's body, I would have made every single decision that he has made all throughout his life. There would have been no veering, because we're all the same thing whenever we come in. It's just different sets of circumstances. He was born as my younger brother. He was the third born child. So he got hazed a little bit, like as a big brother should do to his, younger brother. It's like, so he went through a different set of circumstances, whereas I'm the oldest, right? So I didn't have anybody picking on me. I didn't have anybody hazing on me and whatever, it's like all of these different circumstances. But the idea is that one thing decided to incarnate as my brother, but that one thing decided to incarnate as me. And so now it's gathering it's almost like a giant fucking data collection is kind of the way I've been looking at it, to be honest with you.
I was going to say, it sounds kind of AI, man. Like, you get to thinking about consciousness, I don't know, man.
You can't put consciousness in AI. You don't know what it is, right? That's why AI, I think, will never be like sentient, because nobody knows what the fuck a consciousness is.
Yeah, I don't think consciousness.
But what if we're all one thing?
Good point.
Oh, yeah, if we're all one thing, then
it's taken a part of our consciousness. I get it.
It's such a brain fuck whenever you dive into like all the depths of this, because lines start to blur, which is fun for some.
It's very fun. I think we had a man on who did die. He was like overly sick with something wrong with him for a really long time, and then he said he stood up one day when he felt something going wrong and everything was still as it was, but it was frozen. And he thought like, oh, that's it. We'd been bombed. I died, is what he thought. And sure as shit, he said the only thing left that could pull him out of there was like his dog, because he was alone. He's very shy and, all this stuff. And now, dude, after he tapped into something, though, like you were mentioning too, we asked him a question on like one of the Jupiter's moons with like Venus or something. He knew the answer right away. Like that something was giving him information to life, but he also was very like he stuck to his guns that it wasn't what you thought. It was like something else above you controlling all of it still, but he couldn't. I don't think he could put his finger on it either. He was like, sure, you could call it God, but it's not that. I don't think he knew either. And it kind of, he's
interesting.
He was one of the famous, or one of my favorite people we talked to. I was like, dude, this is crazy to die and then come back. That's really interesting to me, because there's something there. Right. And I almost feel like I don't want the shit that he had to go through to get the information, but I mean, I think that's why it's sought after, right? Because what you have to go through to get it, you got to drown, like in Game of Thrones,
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Anytime you see somebody with seemingly superhuman abilities, they had to go through some trauma, and it's such a repetitive thing that continues to happen. You listen to Chris Bledsoe's story. Dude, I read his book, UFO of God. I feel so damn bad for that guy. Holy shit, was he was just going through traumatic event after traumatic event after traumatic event. And you wonder, it's like, why is it so necessary that we have to go through all of this trauma in order for something like extra special to open up within us? And I have a theory behind that our brain is kind of set at a certain algorithm. Most people are very habitual. Like very habitual. You drink the same thing every morning. You eat the same thing for lunch. You watch the same TV shows in the evening. You go to work and you're probably doing the same thing every single day, right? Absolutely. And so everything is habitual. But whenever you have something traumatic happen, it completely shifts your perspective of reality. Like,
right. All of a sudden your job isn't important tomorrow, the next day,
Oh, dude, imagine like the moment. Do y'all have like significant others?
Yep.
Okay.
I got kids and a wife for sure.
So whenever you met your wife, right? Like whenever you first met her, I'm sure it was like Dude, I mean, it was so much love. It was butterflies. The world has, it stopped spinning just for a moment for you to experience what love is actually like. And then, of course, as time goes on, whatever. But like in the, but in the beginning, you're like, oh my God, I found the one. This is crazy, right? Whenever you're experiencing that, everything around you, I mean, you're looking, that's the old adage, you're looking through rose-colored glasses. And I think the trauma is exactly the same, but the opposite. It's that now you're looking at the world from a completely different perspective, the same way that you would through love. I mean, somebody can cut you off in traffic, dude. If you're having a great day and you're in love, hey, buddy, I hope you get there safe. It's like, whereas if you're having a bad day, you wake up, you stub your toe, you drop your coffee pot, all the glass shatters everywhere. Your kids are waking up in the middle of the night screaming and you don't know what the fuck they need because you changed their diaper. You patted their ass to try and go back to sleep and you fed them and everything. And my God, they just won't go back to sleep. I'm saying that from experience. I got a little baby on the way, so that's going to be kind of crazy. But, it's like you go through that, everything is going to nag at you. You're going to have such a short fuse. And what I'm basically trying to say is that depending upon your lens of what you're viewing reality through that day will entirely kind of alter upon, what your frequency is. And I like to use the kind of Neoplatonist kind of idea, the idea of emanation. Almost look at yourself as this giant projector, and whatever you're sensing and you're feeling and you're thinking and you're experiencing on the inside, the outer world will emanate that. And so this is where people get kind of caught up on manifestation. I don't believe that manifestation is what some people think that it is. Oh, well, I did all these things. I made a vision board or whatever. Man, people kind of just look at it and kind of scoff at it. They think it's silly. I don't have a vision board, but I understand how they would work because it's something that you're waking up to. You're training your mind to like, all right, well, I don't have it yet, but it's coming. I see it every day. It's a habitual, ritualistic thing that you're doing, right? But the idea behind all of that is to try and shake habits that don't serve you. Those habits that don't serve you at all. Whenever you lose patience or you get pissed or you get angry or you get frustrated or whatever, it's to become aware of those emotions and feel them, but don't allow that to emanate throughout your body and to emanate throughout your mind for the rest of your day. And so now whenever you kind of become aware that all of these things are essentially poison to you, and not only poison to your body and to your mind, but to your outer world. Now, whenever you see somebody that's frustrated or you see somebody that's pissed or somebody that cuts you off in traffic or somebody that flips you the bird or whatever, if you see somebody that's having a really bad day, instead of just reacting to them having that bad day and letting it affect you because you want to try and be big, bad, super bad or whatever and go in survival mode, instead, you turn around, you're like, oh man, I can't, I feel so bad for that person, and like you almost have, you sympathize with them. And the important thing is not to empathize with that. You don't want to be that, but to sympathize with it. And you're like, okay, I'm going to give you a little bit of grace because I know whatever you got going on, like your day is probably fucked. And you don't even know that, like,
you're just chilling out in the left lane right now. It's not your fault.
Like one of my buddies, I've had him on the show like, 10 or 11 times. His name is Lord Byron Jester. He has a famous saying, and he goes, most people are cursing themselves every day and they don't even know it. And so if you don't put a stop to whatever you're feeling, whatever you're thinking, if it's negative or, what have you, it's going to keep on happening for the rest of that day. And people you tell this to some people and they're like, oh, I don't believe in any of that woo-woo. I don't believe in any of that. I'm like, I'm not telling you to believe in a God. I'm telling you to understand how your mind works and understand how your thoughts affect your body and how your thoughts affect your reality. Now, if you take that and you're like, all right, well, now I'm trying to become a little bit more aware of my thoughts. I'm bringing more awareness to it. And I'm not only bringing more awareness to my thoughts, I'm bringing more awareness to the rest of my reality. Then you'll start to see like weird synchronicities popping up like crazy that maybe you would have never caught on to before. But because you have this higher awareness about you, of your thoughts, of the nature of your reality, of the words of the passerby that you would normally not listen to, but you know that like that one person passed by you in that specific moment so that you could hear those few words so that it could essentially bring you a synchronicity so that you can look more into it. It's like such a deep rabbit hole, and it's a game. It makes life fun again because you're going with the flow now instead of, putting the blinders on. And that's the main point. And so whenever it comes to manifestation is whenever you can, whatever you're trying to manifest. I'm not even saying like, I'm going to manifest a fucking castle and I want 19,000 wives or whatever. I'm not getting greedy with it, right?
Fuck, could you imagine 19,000 wives? You'd be in trouble.
I don't know how people talk to multiple people at one time. I'm like, how do you have that much in you?
Michael's house gets crazy. You have like 9 conversations going on at the same time, dude. It's like, oh my gosh. And you can track like at least 3 at the same time. It's impressive, really.
That's why we do this, right?
But like the idea of manifestation is like becoming aware of what is going on inside of you, setting an intention, and not allowing negativity to tell you that that's not possible. Because anytime you tell yourself that you can't do this or I can't do that or it's not possible, the reality, if reality is all just one giant projection from inside of you, then reality is going to show you that. It's not going to happen overnight. Sometimes it does, weirdly. But I believe that how things are manifested is because you hold them to be truthful inside of you. And eventually they emanate outward.
The ones that happen overnight are where like you get up and you go, man, I'm ahead on my job. We're going to kick ass today. And then you get to work and everything fucking goes wrong. That's the only time it manifests quickly, when you're like, we're gonna have a good day, then everything goes bad, right?
I know it, dude. Yeah, dude. All right. So so whenever I was with the Cult of Conspiracy, our studio used to be in the back of this crystal shop of the Awakenings of Baton Rouge. Shout out to them. But we used to be in the back of that crystal shop, and we would always have like, sound bowl healers and psychics and tarot readers and past life regressionists and, whatever, like all of the crazy, wild, spiritual woo-woo stuff. We would see it on a daily basis because me and Jacob, we were doing, 5-6 episodes a week. And so we were in there just about every day. And a lot of times we'd be there for like 12 hours a day, coming up with ideas for shows and whatever we needed to do, right? Well, I go in there this one time and there's this psychic lady who's in there, older lady. Like she looked like maybe mid 60s or something like that. Real short, real dainty. She had these piercing blue eyes. Like it was something. And so, but I never really talked to her before. I would say hi and bye and how you doing and, making small talk and stuff like that, but never really had a deep conversation with her until one day I came into the shop one day and she's kind of talking to all the other psychics and sound bowl healers and everything else. And she goes up to me and she goes, hey, do you know that like you have like you have energy around you? Like, I think you have like spirits that are kind of watching over you. And at this point I'm like, all right, like it sounds cool, but like, how are you going to prove that? Like I want to believe, I want to know, but at that point in my life, I was like, I'm not ready to fully say that I believe that yet, And so the woman, she starts going on. She goes, yeah, I can tell that you have 2 spirits around you. There's like this green energy all the way around you. And so I'm like, okay, I'll go with it, see what happens. I'm not paying for it, so why not? And so she goes, you have like this green energy around you. I can tell that there's these 2 spirits. It seems like 2 older people, and they've definitely passed, but they used to be, big influences in your life, and they just want you to know that they're looking after you and they're helping you along your way. I was like, okay, that's pretty vague, but I'll accept it, right? And she goes into describing them, and she's like, looks like it's a husband and a wife. And you can tell they're a little bit older. The husband is a big, tall, kind of husky guy. He's a little bit rough around the edges, but he means well, kind of deal. And she goes, and his wife is really this short, skinny, like firecracker of a woman. I mean, most people would look at her and think that she wasn't really, that intimidating or whatever, but until you heard her open her mouth and you knew, whoa, back up a little bit, right? And then she starts describing their hair color and what they're wearing and a little bit more about their personality. And I'm like,
wow, yeah.
I'm like, okay, you're talking about my great grandparents, like without a shadow of a doubt. I know exactly who you're talking about, which is really strange because they had just passed like a year or two before that. And they both passed like within a year of each other. They made it up to like somewhere in their 80s, I think. So I'm like, okay. And I was like, because in my mind, I'm like, all right, I need something to like prove this, like even more. I'm stubborn, dude. Like I want as much proof as I can possibly get with this kind of stuff. And she goes, okay, well, I'll ask them what kind of sign they can give you. And so she sits there and you can hear her, like, you can see her like talking to them in her mind a little bit, right? Maybe a little bit of telepathy. And she goes, all right. She goes, this is what they said. She goes, if you see a cardinal, just know that they're around you, right? And it's not any kind of message or anything like that they're, it's urgent or anything like that, but just whenever you see a cardinal, you'll know that they're around. She goes, if you see a blue jay, then they have a message for you. And that's whenever you should go into meditation or into prayer or whatever, and maybe you'll be able to connect with whatever they're trying to tell you. I'm like, okay. She goes, now, if you see 2 blue jays, then they have an urgent message for you, and you should really pay attention. You need to get there right now. Now, at the time, I was podcasting full time, but I was also working for Uber Eats, like just supplementing my income that way, right? A couple of days a week, I would do that. So she told me all that. Me and Jacob, we shot our show for the Cult of Conspiracy, went home that night, went to sleep, and early in the morning, I decided to clock in and do some Uber eating, right? The first house I go to has this tiny little tree. You can tell this tree is maybe, I don't know, 5 years old or something like that. It's right outside the front door. And within like eye range, like I didn't have to look up. I didn't have to look all around. There are 2 blue jays that are just playfully dancing and flying around on this one little branch, just going back and forth. I thought to myself, first of all, it's pretty rare that I ever see a blue jay. Like blue jays aren't really something you see every day. I mean, first of all, we're kind of removed from nature, so you're not really seeing a lot of variety of birds anyway. But like,
especially being in tune to it, anyways, right? Like,
exactly. Yeah. Why would I look for that anyway, right? But the fact that I was able to, on my first house, the night or the morning after she had, just told me that, to see 2 of these blue jays flocking around and playing with each other at my eye level, almost like I'm the only person to witness that in that moment. Like it was a special moment, even if there wasn't some kind of prophecy or whatever attached to it, it's like, that would be cool as hell to just see. Right. And I saw it and I was like, oh my God, I think I should start believing a little bit more, so it's like weird things like that happen, dude. And we say that, it's just a happenstance or it's just a whatever, right? And we kind of write it off. But I think that there's so much more to the nature of this reality that we got to look into. And we have to understand that we're not disconnected from it. Like we can come in tune with all of this kind of stuff if we just pay attention. Like if we just bring our awareness to it, all of reality is essentially like your guide in that way. It's almost like the way I kind of see it is like we're co-creating this reality that we exist in. And that might seem blasphemous or what have you, but if you take away like everything that we've, kind of been indoctrinated as and look at reality just for what it is. And if you look at it as, outer reality, there are 2 worlds that you experience in a regular daily life. You experience outer reality and inner reality. It's the as above, so below. I believe that that's what we're experiencing. And I don't know, dude, I've kind of been going on that, and it makes the most amount of sense that it's all just projecting from us. Not to say that we are the creator. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that if everything is one thing, then there's nothing that could be separated from you. And now whenever I look at you, Matthew, or you, Michael, I'm not like, oh, well, he's probably into, some, maybe his favorite football team is the Ravens, and I fucking hate the Ravens, right? So now I'm putting a little bit of separation in between us, and now I'm no longer like giving you any kind of grace or what have you. It's like, if you look at everything as one thing, then everything that you interact with, you're interacting with yourself, and it's just like, even Jesus was like, whatever you do to the least of these, you do to me. Yep. I think that's kind of what he was alluding to. Like, if it's all one thing, then that would make the most sense. Look under a rock and I'm there kind of deal, Well, that's Christian esoteric way anyway.
You do practice hypnotherapy on that, and you can hypnotize people quick too. I've seen some of your episodes, dude. In like 10 seconds, you've gotten some of these people.
It don't take long.
No, but that leads me to believe, like, kind of how you're saying, the manifestation part or whatnot. If you go into it, dude, like placebos in medicine almost, or when you hypnotize somebody, you can almost make them stop smoking. Right. That used to be a big thing with our parents. I think you're close to our age, right around the 40 area, but
36.
Yeah. See, 38. So yeah, we're older. Oh, well. You gave it away when you mentioned the wild thornberries. I was like, yes, we got some.
Yeah, dude.
No, but yeah, like, you can meditate into it. You can hypnotherapy, or your doctors, they just feed people placebos. And then all of a sudden, these people believe they're fucking better, and they go back and they actually are better, so there is something to be said to materializing your own feelings or the environment around you. You can poison your environment, right? If you're exactly what you said, you got a shitty attitude all day, everything's going to be fucking shitty around you. People are going to give you that shit back,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's really fascinating once we start paying more attention to it. And I think that people kind of allude to this whenever they get all excited and they say, oh, we're going up to the fifth dimension, or we're going up to the fifth density, or, whenever the aliens come, they're going to give us all of this knowledge. I don't think the aliens are going to give us any fucking knowledge, because there's knowledge out there from people that people don't want to listen to because of, dogma or whatever it is. Oh, that's just not what I believe. That's not my beliefs or whatever. It's like, I think, and nothing against anybody that's religious. I've tried to calm it down. And not going to lie, dude, like just about every single post, every single podcast I release, every single YouTube video I release, every single TikTok, Instagram, what have you, I got somebody in there telling me that I am doing Satan's work, and not to like warning other people that like, oh, you're going to go to hell. Dude, I had this one guy said somewhere along the lines of like, and then you're going to die, and you're going to spend the rest of eternity in hell and in torment. And then you're going to look up at God and say, I worship you, or whatever, some bullshit like that. And I was like, you know what? Normally I'd let those kind of people go, but this guy seems really sure of himself. And so I ended up having him on as a debate, and it wasn't fair. It just wasn't. And that's not even like trying to put him down or anything like that. It's just that some people are so sure about their beliefs, yet they don't spend any time in the book that they believe. It's like that's what blows my mind. It's like it's a blind belief. Look, if you believe something, I believe that it should be something that you're looking into every day. It should be something that you are trying to watch videos on. You're trying to understand different interpretations of. You're trying to understand the archaeological dig site around whenever they found it, or what were those people's beliefs been pertaining to this information compared to what we believe it as now. Like, how are people not addicted to learning about what their beliefs are? And I kind of just look at it as a laziness. And that's why I kind of come out swinging and I come out challenging, because I do this every day. Like I look into this every single day. It's my life. It's my job. I love it, and it's because I'm trying to get to the truth, and not from a slanted eye. Like, look, if I find something, if maybe there's something out there that I disagree on that is the actual truth, right? But if I can find like real legit ways of proving it to myself that, look, it don't matter how much you like it or not, it is the truth, I'm going to look a lot more into it. I'm going to dissect it. I want to look at it, 1,700 different ways. I want to understand it in every single facet. But there's just some people who are so damn sure, and they're not well read at it at all. I'm like, how?
Yeah, you can't. Don't be sure if you're not ready to bring facts, right? It's like, dude, you got to bring receipts, especially if you're going to call somebody else out on top of that. I just had to rewind a little bit. I am Denver Broncos for life. So the fact that you said a Ravens fan cuts deep from 2014 when they robbed us of, in the AFC Championship, Peyton with Bradley Roby blowing it. I was like, come on, bro. Joe Flacco. I hate the Ravens.
I know. Oh, dude, I hate the Ravens with a passion. I'm a Steelers fan.
Oh,
it's in my blood, baby.
Yeah, then you don't like the Broncos either.
You know what? Like, it was Tim Tebow that really got one over on us. And I love Tim Tebow. Not gonna lie.
Oh yeah, he's a good person.
I was a huge fan of him. I think he has a great heart. You can tell he's very compassionate about everything that he does and everything that he believes. I love people like that. So yeah, it's Tim Tebow. I wasn't that mad. Although that happened literally, so that game had to have happened in 2012 because it happened the day that my daughter was born.
Oh,
so
really?
The day that my daughter was born, the fucking the Broncos and Tim Tebow beat my Pittsburgh Steelers in the playoffs.
Yeah, Demaryius Thomas. That was the first game with the first new overtime rule as well. Remember, where if you scored, it was over. And the first play, Demaryius Thomas scored. I was like, no. And then we got our asses handed to us by Tom Brady. But
I know.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't?
I know.
So like esoteric healing, right? I'm onto this thing because like the Egyptians, we started there, sound frequency and resonance, dude. Even I believe the Vatican has a frequency resonance chamber underneath it too. They don't tell anybody what they do in there, but I feel like everybody knows how to use that, whether esoteric means, in your brain or whatnot, but I feel like it's just something different. And I don't want to say new age either, because that new age sounds weird, right? Like witchcraft.
And to be honest, as far as new age goes, it's really just an amalgamation of a lot of old things.
Mm-hmm.
That's
slapped together.
People combine witchcraft and esotericism and Egyptology and Hinduism, and they're like, all right, I got this one new thing, and they call it new, but it's like the only thing new about it is the fact that you're like gluing it all together. That's the only thing new about it, really.
Yes. But like superheroes, you heal yourself or through their mind, I guess is what I'm trying to say, and the placebo effect of doing that. But I think if you don't fully believe it, okay. So you had talked, people were manifesting wrong. I've always been, the way I think about it, right, is you got to don't ask for the $1 million, put yourself in the house that you would get with the $1 million and the stuff with it, But it sounds kind of cheesy, right? It's like, I don't want to have cancer anymore. I'm going to think of myself playing football without cancer. It's like, you're not going to change the timeline of reality, but are you healthy enough to maybe play football now and your body thinks you're good,
Yeah, you got to be real specific about whatever your intentions are. I've tried to manifest a lot of things in my life, and in some form or fashion, they have come true, just not in the way that I thought they would. Give you an example. Dude, ever since I was 7 years old, I knew that I was going to make it in the NFL. Like, I knew I was. Anybody that tried to tell me I wasn't, I would fight you. Like, how dare you say that I can't make it? I'm addicted to this. I play football every day. I'm in the gym every day. I'm learning the playbook. I'm learning everything that I possibly can in order to prepare for each and every game, right? And I always thought that. Well, the time comes to where so I was living in Pennsylvania most of my life. That's why I'm a Steelers fan. And I ended up moving down to Louisiana whenever I was 16, right before my junior year of high school, which really sucked. But whenever I was in Pennsylvania, I was getting looked at by colleges as a sophomore, which was crazy, because I played both sides of the ball. I played offense and defense. I got a little special teams in, dude. I never wanted to get off the field. And it was so awesome, dude. You never got tired. Like imagine running around back and forth. I run to the end of the driveway and I'm like, God, give me a break, dude. I need at least 30 now.
Yeah, I jog up my stairs and I'm like, whew, shouldn't have done that.
Yeah,
You were
yeah.
lightheaded.
For real. Yeah, dude. But you know, back then I was in shape and I was getting looked at and all this kind of stuff. But then my dad ends up getting a job down in Louisiana. And so then I went from, it was a small school that I was going to in Pennsylvania. It was a 1A high school, dude. Like in my entire grade, we had 60 kids, or 65 or something like that. Right.
Oh,
Then
yeah.
I moved down to Louisiana, get into a 5A high school, and there's more than 80 kids on the football team alone, let alone my entire grade, right? And so I wasn't really getting all the opportunities that I was used to getting. I mean, I had to prove myself, and you know, there's politics and there's families and favorites and all that kind of stuff, and it just wasn't enough time to work through. I only had 2 years left of high school football. You know, I ended up getting a decent amount of play time my senior year, but I was really like, people didn't even know my name the junior year. So anyway, but I still had this dream. It doesn't matter. I'm gonna if I get a scholarship, that'll be great. If I don't, I'm gonna walk on and I'm gonna show them the Rudy inside of me, you know. And so I ended up not getting a scholarship, but I was like, all right, still that's fine. You hear about people that are in the NFL all the time that, you know, they were a walk on at so and so school or what have you, right? So I go over to this college that's like a half an hour away from where I was living. It was called Southeastern Louisiana University, and smaller school, but I mean, still pretty noticeable, more noticeable now because I think they've been around for like 30 years or something like that now. But back whenever I was doing it, it was a relatively new school. And I went to go try to walk onto the team, and the head coach was like, "Oh, you just missed our guy that gives the physicals." And so he goes, "You know what? You should probably just try out next year." And I'm like, "Dude, I missed the physicals. I can go get a physical. Like, that's not a big deal."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, well," and I can tell that he was kind of judging me by my size. Like, I was never really a big guy, but you know, you've seen like smaller guys that can really just blast into a hole or what. Oh, that's
Yeah.
not bad. But like, but
That's
you know
why
what
you
I
got
mean?
another kid coming.
Yeah, for real. Pull-out game was weak, but anyway, so I ended up not getting accepted to go onto that team. So I'm all sad for like the next 2 weeks. So I'm down in the dumps. Like everything sucks. And then it's my sister's birthday, and I wanted to go to Walmart. This is back whenever Walmart was open 24 hours. So I went to Walmart at like 2 or 3 in the morning. And you don't really expect to see anybody there, but lo and behold, I see one of my old teammates from my high school that I played with in Louisiana. And he goes, "Hey, dude, you playing football?" And I was like, "No, you know, they said that I was too late for the physical, so I couldn't, you know, walk on." And he goes, "Oh, well, you know, they're semi-pro, right?" And so like he was a part of the semi-pro team. Long story short, like I end up playing semi-pro for like 12 years or 11 years or something like that. So, and I had the intention on continuing playing football after high school, and I had the intention on I've always dreamed of playing for the Steelers, right? Like I'm from Pittsburgh. Whenever I played for a semi-pro team, my dad created the team because he loves football just as much as I do, and he saw that semi-pro team was not run very well, so he decided to create his own. Lo and behold, I'm playing for the Louisiana Steelers, and we win a championship. It's like, so it's not that my manifestation didn't work. It's just that I wasn't very specific about how it was going to work. And
Yes.
it's weird shit like that happens all the time that I think that if we bring our awareness to, we start paying a little bit more attention to, you see that things typically end up working out. Might not be exactly how you pictured it, but like they still do in a weird way, you know?
You ever seen the movie Bedazzled with Brendan Fraser and Elizabeth
yeah.
Hurley's the devil, and he can never get it right either? He's like, "I
Yeah.
want to be big and hung in the sack," you know, and then he's just like an idiot.
Yeah. That was a
'Cause-
great movie.
Yes, but you got to be, you know, specific like that. You got to really say what you want.
Which is interesting because that movie, I mean, what was the name of the woman that was playing alongside him? Super pretty girl. I can't remember what the hell her name is.
Is it Elizabeth Hurley? It's the girl who was married to Billy Bob Thornton first before Angelina Jolie.
Anyway, so
Yeah.
in that movie, she was essentially like a genie, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And if you look into the etymology about like where the term genie comes from, it comes from jinn, and which, you know, a lot of the Muslims are very well aware of about what a jinn is. And it's not exactly like a demon, because you have good jinn and bad jinn. So it's kind of like a, you know, don't piss them off and they won't fuck with you kind of deal or whatever. But even the word jinn stems from the word genius. So genius, not meaning like Albert Einstein or anything like that, but it's essentially your, like, for a lack of a better word, it's like your higher self is your genius. And so back in the like the pre-Christian Roman times, before Christianity really came to Rome, they had all these emperors, right? And you would see like all the emperors on all the coins, and it was really strange because people almost worship the emperors whenever you're starting to look at it. But whenever you look into it deeper, you find that the civilians were never really worshiping the emperor. They were worshiping the emperor's genius. They believed that the emperor was essentially the medium between them and God. But really, whenever you dwindle it all the way down, it's essentially the emperor's higher self that they thought that they were able to commune with God or the angels or whatever it is. And it's so strange because it starts out as genius, then it goes to jinn, then it goes to genie. And if that's the case, then, I mean, I don't know. I feel like my higher self, or what I believe to be my higher self, definitely will trick me into things from time to time.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah.
And so it's kind of the same a little bit, I think.
That's a weird way to think about it. Like, you could see yourself, you know, they're kind of seeing themselves. Like if you made a bad decision, or, hey, you're going to be pressed with something a little bit later in this life today, you know, and you saw this jinn walking around that was a piece of shit or scary. And it's like, maybe you made the wrong choice later, or it's a different reality. What do you think about aliens and ghosts? Real here, or like not what they say they are?
Oh man, this is something that I'm trying to figure out literally every day. And I feel like my mind is changing on them all the time. You know, some people will say that, well, ghosts are essentially just disembodied spirits that haven't crossed over to the other side yet. They had something that they were really, really attached to, or really addicted to. Maybe they were addicted to sex or alcohol or drugs, or they're whatever. It's like that addiction keeps them glued here, and they're essentially stuck in purgatory, you know, like wandering around. They're the wanderers, essentially, right? And then you talk to other people, and it's like, all right, whenever you go into a haunted house and you have all of, you know, these machines in order to measure ghost frequencies or whatever, right? Like those little spirit boxes, you know, you'll get voices to come through. A lot like Bumblebee, like saying words over the radio, like just switching stations kind of deal.
Oh, yeah.
Like some people will actually say, well, that is whenever you sense something, or whenever you see some kind of light just flash or appear, or you sense that the room is getting chillier or warmer, or something strange that is usually in like those haunted house documentaries or whatever. Some people will say that that's actually you that is projecting that. And I have a hard time believing that personally. I don't buy that, because if that's the case, then we would be projecting that all the time, and not only when we're in a haunted house, you know?
Exactly.
Like,
and why is it like a little girl sometimes or something, you know? Like, you're a scared little girl. Well, no. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well,
I watch a guy on TikTok all the time. He's in Louisiana, like the old graves, and he cleans them, and like the spirit box will talk to him. It's like, it couldn't be him, you know, because there's like 5 or 6 disembodied voices at the same time, sometimes trying to speak over the next person, you know, and it's weird. But it is strange, dude. Yeah, I think that what we call ghosts, what we call aliens, what we call gods, what we call angels, what we call demons, I think they're kind of the same thing. Like we're trying to put words on something that we can't really see. You know, we're trying to put words on something that maybe we can communicate with, or maybe we get signs from, but
if you look at it like this, I'll give you an example. So they say that we live in the third dimension. And according to string theory, there are 11 dimensions. And according to other theories out there, if you look into Hinduism, or even if you look into theosophy, you look into, what is the Jewish one? Kabbalah. You look into all of these different things. Most of them will say that, like, maybe there's not 11, but there's like 7 dimensions or 7 realities. Or if you look into Norse mythology, there's like the 9 realms or what have you, right? And so everybody throughout all of these lores, they all talk about like these higher or lower realms. And depending on which one you're really looking into, sometimes we're in the middle, sometimes we're at the bottom, sometimes we're in the lower third, what have you. But everybody can agree that there is something higher than us because we don't have the capabilities of perceiving what that is, right? So I think that there are higher realms that are above us that we can really only sense using our sixth sense, which our sixth sense is essentially just a sense that we're using all of these other senses that we have to come together and becoming aware. And there's something within us that is also that, that is also whatever is made of in those realms, that spark in us, the made in the image of, or what have you, like whatever they are, we are also. And call it consciousness if you want, right? That's typically what I like to do. I think it's all consciousness, just wearing different masks and having different senses and having different abilities, and they're experiencing other realities. But it's not that these realities are far, far away, something that we can never, touch or anything like that. I think that everything is stacked up on top of our reality, and this is why whenever you're watching a movie alone at night and, you got the lights off, but the TV's on, but then your cat's like fucking freaking out and it's sensing something, right? It's all freaking out. You're like, oh, cat, you got to go out. Like I don't have that in me right now. I'm trying to go to sleep. I'm trying to watch a couple episodes of The Office. I'm trying to knock the fuck out. Right. But your cat is over there just spazzing out and you're like, all right, let me turn these lights on right quick. Like there's just something weird about that.
I'm gonna close my door.
Yeah. But I think that it's all really right here, right now, existing in this reality. And I think that it goes on forever because I think that we go on forever. Like call it the soul or the consciousness, like by definition, things that things that are non-existent don't exist and can't exist, right? But if you exist, then it's like you will always kind of exist forever, like in a weird, strange way. Now, you might not always be who you are. Obviously, we know these bodies die, but that thing that's inside of us that persists forever, I think that maybe whenever we die, maybe we go to another realm. Maybe we experience another reality. Maybe it's into form, kind of like what we experience. Maybe it's completely abstract. Like have you ever had a dream to where it's so abstract, but for some reason it's familiar? I get those all the time. It's like, why am I a blob? And then there's this other blob and we're different colors, but this one blob is trying to consume me and I'm scared of it trying to consume me. But it makes no sense. Yeah. Like, it's like trying to mix water and oil, but for some reason I'm the water that's scared to be sucked up by the oil. It's like, is that because that is just one way of reality experiencing itself through that medium? That's, it's all weird.
Did you ever see when 607 Unk, like about last year, was getting real big on social media and he was talking about like Gnosticism and how it was like a trap? And Jesus was just like the soul bearer of this realm. And he was saying that, what was it? Like if you went to the light, that was the trap. You would reincarnate here again. You couldn't ever die. Right. And I think there's something to be said of that you would last forever because I kind of believe with Schrodinger, like it's not going to happen until you experience it. And if you die, do you experience that death? So that would prove two things, right? It does go on. It did happen because you experienced it. And if you're dying and experiencing it, well, you're still experiencing after you died. So something is still happening after you're gone, even, which leads me to believe like okay, maybe there is something that you're right. You can't get rid of me. You know, you can get rid of Michael, but not inside Michael.
Right. You can't get rid of the thing that is experiencing.
What about
but
the
as
people
far
who
as
don't?
like,
Go ahead.
oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, no, as far as like 607 Unk, there's things that I really like what he's saying. He's a bit spastic, but I kind of like it. He's weird,
Drugs.
That might be what it is. But like, there's something about him I really like, but then there's also something that I'm like, he's a little too sure. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's talking like he knows something that nobody else knows. And
it seems a little government plant or evil to me too.
yeah, it's like the saying to my show is that you don't know what you don't know. Like, because it's like every single little bit of information that you learn, like you always have a question. You know, like we all have questions. We all want to know something deeper about a topic or deeper about a person or deeper about whatever it is, you know, and it's ever unraveling. But like the most profound things are the ones where you can keep on asking questions based on the answers that you got, and the answers are then leading you into your next question. It's like, you know, it's like the what was it, like Aristotle or some shit that said the mark of an intelligent man is one that knows that he doesn't know. Something along those lines. And I really vibe with that, because the moment you say you know something, you're literally checking off every other potential box. And now you're so stuck in this one box that you know and you've confirmed and there is no questioning it and you know it to absolutely be true. And what you're doing is that something else might present you with something that if you had that information before you made that decision, you might not have made that decision. So now you're trapped. You know, that's that a lot of people find themselves there. But as far as like 607, well, as far as Gnosticism in general, there's a lot of things I love about Gnosticism. If you've ever read The Lost Gospel of Q, it's a really good book. Or it's essentially just, is it 107 or 117 of Jesus's sayings? And so, which is really good. And a lot of it is, some of it's from the Bible, some of it is from the Nag Hammadi scriptures. But Gnosticism it's pretty interesting. I don't like how they say that we're in a trap, though. That essentially that we have this demiurge, and that's essentially what God is that God is the demiurge, and God is trying to keep you trapped here. And not only is it the demiurge is trying to keep you trapped, it's also the fucking archons that are trying to like convince you of the illusion that it's not a trap kind of deal, you know? And what a lot of the Gnostics, they call it very similarly to what the Hindus call the Maya, which is basically like the Matrix or the illusion. The Gnostics call it the Kenoma. And so within the Kenoma, it's like this false world illusion, and we're trapped here by the demiurge, and we're trapped here by the archons. And, you know, I don't like to look at this place as a trap. Like, maybe it is. I don't know. But
there's so much information, though,
like
at our dispense that, you know, you wouldn't keep somebody trapped and then give them the knowledge to everything right at their hands if you wanted, I feel like.
Yeah, and it's very similar to like the story about Enki and Enlil. Mm-hmm. You know, like they're the ones that created us, and they only created us in order to mine gold. And outside of that, we're essentially just slaves to these Anunnaki. And I don't like that either, because I mean, look, I know a lot of people who don't work, and Enki and Enlil are not coming for them. You know what I'm saying? It's like they're obviously not slaving, right? So why is there no spanking involved?
Dude, okay, so back to 607 when he talks about it, and he talks about being in like the locked realm, and that there's a huge being above it, is what he likes to say, you know. Like massive that you couldn't see. The guy we talked to that had the NDE, he said when he met like whatever it was, all he could see, he wasn't allowed to look like directly at it, because he felt like if he did, he would die, or, you know, he would actually pass on from his near death if he looked directly at it. But he said it was just like a toe in a sandal is all he could see. That's how big it was over Earth. And it reminded me, right, of 607 Unk. And I was like, oh shit. Yeah, but so I don't know if it's all, you know, like a shared consciousness seeing where it isn't real, but there's only You ever done drugs and then you do the drug? Well, of course, we talked about this earlier, but you run into somebody, you run into somebody else and they're like, no, I've done that. And then they kind of talk about their psychedelic experience or something. And it's the same. There's only like 5 different types of things that'll fucking happen, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of wonder if Earth is like that too with everything, you know? Like people have the same dreams. People have kind of the same deja vu. People get the same emotions about things, you know? So when I hear that, I'm like, I don't know, is 607 Unk? Maybe he does know because the dude who died, I talked to
like 5 different endings, or it goes into that.
So I and just to get back to like the past life regression stuff here real quick, because I have a story that relates perfectly to that.
Yeah, let's do it.
So I went into wanting to learn more about Dolores Cannon and the past life regressions because of my interest in near-death experiences. Ultimately, my interest in near-death experiences led me to people who are able to hypnotically regress somebody into a past life. I just thought, oh my God, is this real? Like, is this for like, is it as magical as they say? Because I read a bunch of Dolores Cannon's books, and her books are primarily like her sessions. Like it is crazy shit that happens in these sessions, bro. Like, I don't know if you ever looked into Dolores Cannon. It is wild.
Oh yeah.
So for example, she wrote this book on Pythagoras. Is it Pythagoras? Shit. Damn, I can't remember the name of the guy now. Maybe it was Pythagoras. Let me look that up real quick because I really don't want to butcher that. So who did Dolores Cannon?
And she's kind of the founder of like QHHT, right?
Oh yeah, she created it.
Yeah. I know a girl that I know, she's a little bit older than me. She just got into it. She's like, I'll heal people in 4 sessions and whatnot. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm into the healing part of it, you know, and more of discovering yourself.
Yeah. I mean,
same thing though, right?
It's really strange. How I've never personally, like on my body, experienced healing, but I've heard of stories of people who have, and Dolores Cannon talks about that kind of stuff too. It wasn't Pythagoras. It was Nostradamus. That's what I was thinking of.
Okay.
All these long fucking Greek names or whatever they are. But, so, Nostradamus had like a list of all these prophecies that were eventually going to come true. And a lot of people didn't really know how to interpret them. Some people say that like 9/11 was one of Nostradamus's prophecies, but it's very loose and very vague. And so it's really hard to really put it together. And so you're kind of left with speculation. So Dolores Cannon, this one time, she's hypnotizing this woman, and she's hypnotizing this woman to go into a past life. And something weird really happens, to where she asked the person, all right, who am I speaking to? And the person answers, this is Nostradamus or whatever, like, who am I speaking to? And it was really strange because this person wasn't experiencing a past life. This person, like Dolores, from what she says, she was talking to Nostradamus in his lifetime, because all time is working at the same time, that there is no past, there's no future. It's all happening right now. Right. And so she was essentially like talking to Nostradamus in real time, which is really strange. You wouldn't expect something like that, right? Especially not from a past life regression. Like, how could it be a past life if it's happening right now? And that's where you start diving into the time rabbit hole and weird shit happens. But so she's talking to this Nostradamus, and she's like, all right, well, if it's really Nostradamus, then maybe you can help me understand what some of these prophecies are about. And so she's getting like real in-depth answers on what the specific prophecies actually meant and what they were pertaining to. And it's like really strange shit that's going on, right? Well, she ends up having like multiple sessions with this one person, and every single time it's a continuation of the conversation that she was having with Nostradamus from the time before. It's almost
like
as
he
if
remembers it.
Like, it's almost as if no time had elapsed, to where the last word that they had whenever she was hypnotized, they picked up on that next word. It was really, really fucking weird. But what to make it even weirder, so that person that she's getting all this Nostradamus information from ends up having to move away. And she's like, oh no, we couldn't complete the prophecies, and we couldn't figure out what the rest of the message was, because she was moving like across the country. And she was like, okay, well, I guess that's that. Dude, it was like the next week she hypnotizes somebody. And at this time, you know, she wasn't Dolores Cannon yet. Like nobody knew who she was. You know, they heard of past life regression and, oh, I see this person does past life regression. Let me call this person up. Dolores Cannon was, I'm not going to say a nobody, but she wasn't as well known as, you know, she eventually came to be. So, and you know, she wasn't going on radio shows and talking about this stuff either. Nobody knew this. Like this was very in the circle kind of deal. So the next person that she hypnotizes, she's not expecting anything special, just your typical past life regression. Those are special, but you know, in that same way. Dude, she picks up on the word with this next person for Nostradamus. It's Nostradamus again through an entirely different person, picking up exactly where they left off. Nobody had any idea how this was possible, and yet the information's carried over. And what's really strange is that the previous woman, the first woman that she was talking to, she had known that she was going to be moving away. And so whenever she's talking, she's like, you know, she's talking to Nostradamus and this regression and stuff. And she's like, well, look, you know, is there any way that I can continue this conversation? Like, is that even like, am I able to channel you, or can I go into a meditation or something like that? And Nostradamus in a roundabout way is like, don't worry, our conversation will keep going. Like it's going to keep happening. And then she picks up right where she left off with a completely different person who didn't know the story. And it ends up being, she writes two whole books on these Nostradamus prophecies, like filling in the blanks. And it's the craziest shit ever, because what you're tapping into whenever you're hypnotized, you're going into a heavy trance state. Like ideally, you hypnotize somebody, you regress them, and you're doing everything you can to put them in such a state of comfort and release and relaxation that they themselves, their ego, their left brain, whatever you want to call it, are completely out of the picture. You're trying to talk to the right brain. You're trying to talk to the subconscious. You're trying to talk to the higher self, or to the fucking librarian of the Akashic records, whatever you want to call it. It's like there's something in there that we have access to. We just need the medium. And strangely enough, the medium it's fucking us. It's us at a deep trance level. As soon as we can get our identity out of the way, that thing that is us at the deeper core essentially becomes a fucking receiver that we can talk into and listen from. Like we're like cosmic walkie-talkies is essentially what our third eye is. And that's what she was able to find out through all these past life regressions. And dude, she was talking about, she was like speaking to aliens. She was speaking to these people that were known as the Essenes, that were essentially like some of the people that were walking with Jesus and stuff like that.
Yeah, the Jews that hid Jesus.
Exactly.
They're like, the Essenes are like mythological people too. So that's really cool.
Crazy stuff, dude. So I took a heavy interest in all of that, dude. Whenever I found out about Dolores Cannon, dude, I kid you not, I probably watched over 1,000 hours worth of her interviews. I read all of her books. And she wrote like, I think like 20 or 21 of them or something like that. And they're actually still releasing books even after she's died, because her daughter is still carrying on the organization, the QHHT, and going over all of the transcripts, because every time Dolores would hypnotize somebody, she would always keep it on a tape recorder. And so she would go back and take notes from that tape recorder and try and see if some of the things align with each other. And I mean, dude, she was like a fucking esoteric scientist is really what she was. Like I look up to her heavily. Yeah.
That like Nostradamus sought her out, which is the weird part about it to me, right? He had something to say. Does she ever get to that? I need to read these books, I guess.
Oh yeah, dude. Got them all answered.
That's crazy. I remember, I read about, what did they call it? The black computer or something in like this English town, right? These people came home from a bar to their house and their computer was on. And they were like, that's fucking weird. We have it all unplugged and stuff. Went to it. And it was somebody from like 1525 communicating to them. And they were like, what the hell? You know, it's 2005. And then that person was like, oh, you're different from the person then that I'm talking to in 2135 also at the same time. So this computer, and it's still active today somewhere around there. You can look it up. It's still fucking going, communicating with somebody from like 2100, 1500 and modern time.
Dude, It's like that's what I'm saying. There's so many things we just don't know. And a lot of times, like, our beliefs tend to get in the way of really looking into them. Like that kind of stuff might be seen as demonic, if you really think about it from that kind of lens. But, dude, you know what? I had this woman on about a year or a year and a half ago. Her name is Brandy Anderson. Have you ever heard of her?
No.
All right, so she's an author, but holy shit, did she have a crazy experience. So Brandy Anderson, she wrote a book called Through the Veil, and the craziest thing happened. So I want to say it was her grandmother that died, and it was like, the grandmother was like kind of like the cornerstone of the family and kind of held the family together. And so whenever she died, maybe the family started to not be so close. And I personally have experienced the same thing. It sucks, dude, but it's one of those things. But so the grandmother dies and she's distraught because she was like super close. And the house that the grandmother was living in, I believe that she was living in like Brandy's sister's house or something like that. So Brandy's sister and husband and kids were still living in that house after the grandmother had passed. Strangely enough, dude, Brandy goes over there one day and the fucking TV comes on by itself. And you're like, okay, maybe somebody just has the Roku app and was able to just turn it on, whatever, no big deal. But up in the search bar, you have the search bar up there and you can search for a movie or a show or an app or whatever, right? In the search bar, she was getting like these like long sentences that were being typed out. And she's looking all around the house. There's nobody here. And they lived on this property to where it was like acres of land. Nobody could have connected there. Like it's pretty, away from everything. Nobody was there or anything. And I asked her all these questions because I'm a skeptic first, and then I allow myself.
I mean, you'd have to be in view of the TV to see which letters you were picking anyway. So like, it'd be hard to fake that. Yeah,
dude. So she's getting messages, and it seems like divine messages. Like the messages that she's getting, she's almost like being taught about what the other side is like. It's like the craziest thing. And lo and behold, she ends up finding out it's literally her grandmother. And so what you hear a lot of times is that sometimes demons, they'll dress as somebody familiar in order to fuck with you and gain your trust and all this other kind of stuff, right? And so she was also skeptical about that because she's a Christian, still to this day a Christian, by the way. But she's experiencing this, and so she's getting all these messages, and she's asking her grandma, all right, if you're really my grandma, then you'll be able to answer this question. And if you're my grandma, you'll be able to answer this question. And she's like really putting her through the whole rigmarole, right? Really trying to test it. And every single time the answer was spot on, perfect. She was, in her mind, she was able to confirm that it was her grandmother. Like, even if it's somebody else that is fucking with this remote, these answers could not have been answered by anybody else if it was only the grandmother and Brandy having this conversation or experiencing this thing, right? So Brandy's like, all right, well, I guess you confirmed that your grandmother or your grandma, what have you, like, where are you? How are you able to do this? I know you died. You're not here. I was at your funeral. Like, you're not here.
You probably couldn't work the Roku when you were alive.
Right, exactly. Most of them are, they ask like, where's the on button kind of deal, So she's asking, the grandmother all this stuff about like, where are you and how are you existing? And the grandmother is going in detail. Like, I'm talking about esoteric detail about what the other side is like. And basically, like, she's existing. She can see everything and everybody. She can jump in and tune in here and tune in there. And she has access to like other souls that are also over there. And essentially, it's kind of like the medium before you either go to heaven or go on to your next life, like reincarnation style, right? And she was talking about, because Brandy was like, well, why? I want you to go on. Like, I want you to go to heaven, or I want you to go on to the next life. You don't need to sit here and babysit us. Like, I'm sure that has to suck. And she's like, well, look, time's not the same over here. Like, 10 years to you is a day to me. So it's not like even a big ask for me to do this kind of stuff, which would make sense if you've ever looked into like what reality would be like in the fourth dimension and in the fifth dimension. If you've ever seen Interstellar, like Matthew McConaughey falls into the black hole.
Time is the difference, right?
Yeah, like he's able to like go on the bookshelf in Interstellar, and he's like able to see his daughter's life in all of these different ages and shit, right? It's all happening right now, but we experience time as linear, right? And we don't see it as something that's cyclical or all happening right now. And so that's essentially what she was saying. She goes, it really ain't no thing. Like it's all happening right now anyway. It's like it's not a big deal. And so she was like, well, are you planning on going over? And do you know how to cross over? You know, she's asking her grandma this. And she goes, yeah, I know exactly how to cross over. I've seen other people go through it. And what she said, the way she described it is that there's essentially like this wall or like this portal of sorts that is like, it's like fire that you have to go through. And that's like a cleansing process. It's like a purification that essentially you're shedding your old egoic skin in order to either reincarnate or to enter into heaven. Right. And so she's like, well, I don't want to forget yet. Like, I still want to be here for you guys. I still want to be able to help guide you and all this kind of stuff. And she's like, I appreciate that, but you can go. Like, I don't want you to wait around. And she's like, no, you know, I'm okay waiting. And it's the craziest shit you ever hear, because it's the same exact information that you hear whenever people have like near-death experiences, or even what I hear whenever I hypnotize people to go to a past life regression. You know, it's like, all right, the moment you die, and this is what I do whenever I hypnotize people, you're embodied into this other life. And you're not always starting out as a baby. Sometimes you're starting out as a teenager or in your 20s or at an important part in your life where something's happening, right? And then you go throughout the process. I skip forward in time, and, you know, I allow you to see, you know, the different phases of life and what was the lessons learned in that life that you can carry over into this life and stuff like that. And then I take them through the death process, right? Every time. And it's very important to take somebody through the death process whenever you're giving them a past life regression. It sounds morbid because you're like, oh, I don't want to experience death, but you're not experiencing it like physically. And as a matter of fact, I give key words to where you're not experiencing it at all. You can remove yourself to where you're seeing it from like a third person point of view, right? And so you're not having to experience the pain or the agony of a heart attack or getting hit by a train or whatever, right? Like you can kind of see it for what it is. And every single person, whenever they die, it's like their soul knows that they're about to die and gets out of their body before any of the pain and agony actually happens. And whenever that happens, they're floating above their body and they can look down at their body. And the first thing every single time is always like, oh my God, thank God I'm not in that thing anymore. Thank God I'm not in that dense fucking skin sack anymore. Like I don't hurt anymore. I don't have a hernia. I don't have cancer. I don't have bone spurs. You know, like you don't have all of the pains that comes with being a human. And then you take them through and you're like, all right, well, now that you're looking down at your body, where are you going next? And you're trying to get as many details. And most of the time, like they kind of float up to the into the stars, and you know you're getting like a bigger perspective of the world and like weird shit like that. But some people have talked about how they have to, if they want to reincarnate again, which sometimes I'll take them into another life. They want to reincarnate again, they have to go through a fucking purification process. And it's this purification process shows up again and again and again. And you look at all of the ancient ways, and take it all the way back to the ancient Egyptians. They were obsessed with purification. Like it was always about purifying the soul. And one of the best ways to purify the soul is to like, so you ritually prepare wherever it is you're about to do this ritual, right? Like you go a couple of days without eating. You make sure like you don't have any food that your body's digesting. You're making sure you're drinking a bunch of water. You're making sure you're not around other people and that are poisoning your thoughts. You sit in the dark in meditation, and you're like ritually purifying your soul in a way, right? And then you go through the actual ritual. You lay down in the tomb, right? And whenever you're laying down in that tomb, you go through this near-death process. And so before you even have this death before death or this death process, you're becoming ritually purified so that your purified soul doesn't have to go through that purification on the other side. And it's so fucking weird about how this purification shows up time and time again. The Pharisees talked a lot about it. The Puritans talked a lot about it. The Egyptians talked a lot about it. And the story just goes on. And that's the thing. It's like, you even looking into the Bible, like it's strange because God, if like whenever you're asking like, what does God think of us? It's like, we're seen as unclean rags. You're like, oh my God, I see why now. You know, because you've accumulated all this shit. You accumulated all these ideologies and, you know, all these habitual thoughts and, you know, all of that stuff that's not pure, you know, like to be of God or to be of the source is all purity. And so I just love learning about all that kind of stuff because I think that there's a rhyme or reason for all of this. And I think that things rhyme all throughout all of the different continents and all the different religions and all the different cults and what have you. They all seem to rhyme a little bit, which is really strange. How is it possible?
How often when they do the past life regression, do people wake up on you and go, I want to be back there?
Well, it's really not really frequently because they were able to go through the death process. So in their mind, that's a past life now. They experienced it, you know. But I will say that there's a lot of people that just about everybody that goes through the past life regression, there's never a day where they go a day without thinking about their experience. It's like it makes such an imprint on your consciousness, on your soul, whatever, that you never forget about it. I've only ever been hypnotized twice. I remember every detail from both of those, and I think about those details every single day.
What do you think it was? You think it's really a past life? Or because I've listened to some of yours that you've done, and it also, like, it aligns very closely with who the person is also. And I'm like, well, are they just manifesting what they wanted then?
Well, maybe, but what made you want that thing in the first place?
Good point.
You know, it's kind of like you got to almost look at it at the back, like at a back door. Give you an example, like Jacob, my old co-host from the Cult of Conspiracy. Jacob is he's into like night fighting and he does all the boo hurt kind of stuff, which is medieval kind of stuff. It's really cool, actually. And he's also a really religious person. He's very devout in his beliefs in Christianity and stuff like that, right? So you would think, all right, he's that devout in his religious faith. All right, maybe what he experiences in a past life, if I was to hypnotize him, then he would experience another like Christian life. Maybe he was, you know, fucking the Knights of Malta or the Knights Templar or something like that, right? Except for whenever I hypnotize him, he's a Muslim in a past life. Something that he does nothing but talk shit on a daily basis. Yeah. Like he can't stand that ideology. He can't stand the Quran. He thinks that it's like blasphemous. Like, oh my God, it's despicable, right? Yet he experienced life as a devout believer in the Quran. And more than that, he was like a, I don't know what they're called, but he was essentially like a rogue soldier that was like going around and helping other like sectors or other militaries or something.
Like a mercenary?
Like that. Mercenary, that's the word I was looking for, yeah. He was like a mercenary that was going around and helping his other like Muslim brothers like in all of these different battles and shit. And it was really strange. But you know, we can talk about how amazing past lives are. Like they are really cool. Like don't get me wrong, you're never going to stop thinking about it. But the most valuable part to me, a lot of people say, well, it's the healing. Okay. Not everybody gets the healing. I'll be straight up and say that. You know, it's sometimes it's a karmic thing that we have to go through and therefore you're not going to get healed. Like that's what some people will say. So, but the most powerful part is whenever people, they have their questions answered. So before I give a past life regression, I tell the person, all right, well, you're going to go through a past life and everything, but after your past life, I'm going to talk to your higher self. And a lot of people are like, well, like what kind of questions do I ask my higher self? My cousin Sean asked me that same thing. And he was like, what do I ask? And I was like, imagine your higher self is God. What would you ask God? any question you can possibly think of. Like, what would you ask God? And he was like, okay, I got it. I understand now. And so you have like this list of 10, 15, 20 questions or what have you. And those questions are questions that you have that you know damn well you have no fucking idea what the answer is. Like, you have a curiosity and maybe you have an inkling of a thought of what it might be, but you have no idea, right? And that's why you ask these questions. These are questions that you ask God. Like, you're not asking your neighbor for, you know, a cup of milk or something like that. It's like, this is the most important question you could ever ask. And so people write those down, like, what's my destiny, you know, and like, what job am I supposed to be in? And you can get as deep and esoteric as you want with it, whatever, right? Everybody's different with what their questions are. Whenever I gave Jacob a past life regression, keep in mind, this is somebody who does not believe in past lives, does not believe in reincarnation, and up until that point didn't believe that he could be hypnotized. But for some reason, he goes through this past life as a Muslim. He's a fucking mercenary fighting on behalf of, you know, the Holy Temple or whatever it is they got. And then he has all of his questions answered from his higher self. They are perfect. I mean, to such detail, so perfect. And actually, like, I wasn't even allowed to include that in on the episode because it was like too personal. But I know Jacob. Like, that is my best friend. That is my brother. Like, that, I'm there for him for whatever he needs. He would do the same for me. I know him, and the answers that he gave are not answers that he wanted to give himself, but they were the right answer. And so, what's that then?
Yeah, that's, you know, something. What are you unlocking?
You're tapping into something, and is that something God? Is that something the higher version of you? We don't know. You know, people call it different things. Some people say it's aliens. Some people say it's angels. Some people, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
maybe it's all the same fucking thing, dude.
Yeah. What was that movie? The alien one where they were being abducted and she was hypnotized. The Fourth Kind, right? And she was hypnotizing them, and it was the aliens speaking through them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Weird stuff, dude. Weird stuff happens. You just gotta, you know, you just gotta be curious is the most important thing. Like, be curious and be open that whatever the answer is, it's okay, whatever the answer is. Like, you just have to be willing to accept and be open. And that is the rabbit hole that I go down on my podcast all the time. And I cover everything that I possibly can. Anything that's mysticism, anything that's magic. Yes, I talk to witches, and yes, I talk to people who are into Satanism and all this kind of stuff. It's not because I'm going to be a Satanist. I don't plan on sacrificing anything. I just want to know how it works. I just want to understand it.
Just
because
general curiosity, right?
How is it possible that somebody could recite the Bible in a satanic ritual and it works? How? Mm-hmm. How does that work?
Well, it's all the same.
I want to know that. Exactly.
It's all the same thing. That's what's crazy too. Like, I think, you know, how you had said aliens, demons, ghosts, us, we're all of the same thing. And I think so, right? It's all one thing. It's just, what does a demon look like to you, you know? And you're like, dude, it's somebody who will fucking rip me off and, you know, scary, could kill me or eat me. And it's like, okay, that's what you're going to produce. So what it looks like, you know, but still here with you. I don't know though. At the same time, that's pretty crazy to tap into another side in hypnosis, like the way Dolores Cannon did.
Yeah.
Because Nostradamus, that's a real person, you know? The way Jacob, you were talking about Jacob, you know, going in, okay, yeah, you know, you made a story, maybe that's your ego death there. Hey, you're hating on Muslims. You're going to be a Muslim and see that was just a normal fucking person too, you know?
Which would be karmically correct.
Yes, exactly. Right. But, and then at the same time, what the hell took you there though? How did it know that about you? You know?
I don't know. I think that like at the deeper core of ourselves, we know the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what I really believe. Like, I really think that we know the answer and we're kind of just playing peekaboo with ourselves.
Okay. Like, we don't want to know the answer. Is that why?
I'll give you a couple of quotes here. So, speaking of Islam, there is this famous Sufi mystic. So a Sufi mystic is a lot like, the Jews have the Kabbalah. Some people would say that the Christians have the Rosicrucianism, whatever, right? It's like, and so there are Islamic mystics out there, and they're called Sufis. So the Sufi, there's this one famous Sufi. His name is Rumi, Rumi, and he has a famous quote. I'll never forget it. He goes, "I tried to find God, and all I found was myself. I tried to find myself, and all I found was God." And it's like, when you hear that, you're like, this is not just, all right, you can say, well, that's just Muslim thing, or that's just Islamic thinking or whatever. But this guy was a mystic. Like, this guy is somebody who meditates on this all day long. He thinks about this stuff. He's not just blindly accepting it. He's not just, standing up and sitting down and laying down in prayer, whatever. Like, this guy is philosophical, right? This is somebody who devotes his life to understanding the mysteries of reality. And that is his most famous quote. It's like, that's what it gets me, whenever I hear stuff like that. And I always love to bring it up to another point here. If you want to go Christian with it, even, I got another one here that will definitely make you think. It will make you think. Let me see if I can. Sorry, I'm going to see if I can pull this up here real quick. There's one of my favorite Bible quotes. It's Isaiah chapter 45, verse 7, if I'm not mistaken. So let me just type that in real quick. Isaiah 45, 7. I just don't want to butcher the verbiage. So, sorry about that. I should have came more prepared. Oh, here we go. This is God speaking in Isaiah. He goes, "I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things." Now, whenever I first saw that, I was like, well, what's the role of the devil then? Like, why do you need a devil? If you're you're God, you create evil?
You're making
like, what's the role of that? But what I really spent some time meditating on that. And I think that if it's all one thing, then of course that would be the answer. If everything is just consciousness, get rid of the names, get rid of the religions, get rid of the dogma. You boil it all down, if we all just can agree that it's all just consciousness, then this quote makes a lot more sense. I form the light and create darkness. Well, that to me, that points to, is it Gnosticism that thinks this? But essentially that in the beginning, there was two things. That there was God, and then there was the void. That there was the thing that could manifest and create, and then there was the medium that allowed for that manifestation and that creation to be able to happen. Almost look at it like the void is the womb of all creation, and God is essentially like, maybe that's why he's called he. You know what I mean? Like, he's the one that he's putting the sperm into the egg kind of deal, right? Yeah. And so if that's the case, then, and if there's only one thing, and before anything was ever manifested or created, it was just, God with a paintbrush inside of, the like an artistic hall of sorts, then, and you had nothing but just dry canvas and you can create whatever you want, then you could create light. You could create darkness. You could create peace. You could create evil, because you are the Lord. You are the creator. You are the one consciousness that hasn't spread itself thin yet. I don't know, dude. This is just philosophical thought at this point, but that's what I love thinking about. Like, I think that if you love something and you love somebody, you want to know everything about them. Like your wife, you probably know just about all there is to know about her. You know all the good things, you know all the bad things, you know which buttons to press, you know which ones not to press. You know when to be funny and when to be serious kind of deal. Like, what if we only knew that about the source from which we come from? Like, why is it so evil to try and learn as many details about that as possible? And if that's the case, Why is learning about witchcraft evil? Why is learning about Hinduism evil? Why is learning about Islam evil? If it's all one thing anyway, what's evil about it? It's all creation, you know? And that's what I like to get to. No barriers. I don't do no walls. We're not going to build a wall.
No. I don't think there's any walls to be had anymore with old Trump done ruined all that.
I know.
That boy's out of his shots here, if you ask me.
I used to be, dude, I voted for him 3 times.
Oh, no.
And I've now separated myself from all of that political shit. Like, I will never vote again. You're never going to see it happen. I got duped. I got duped 3 times. Like, that's where it gets me. It's like,
yesterday I opened up I was like, all right, dude, I'll see the Trump account. You know, I got a new baby too. She's a little over a year old. I was like, fuck it, we'll see. And I started reading, and it was like, if you follow their stuff by the time they're 18, that Trump account could be worth, $100,000, it shows. And then I started filling it all out, and it's like social security number, like more information about your baby and yourself. And I went, I've seen this movie before. I've seen this playbook with everything else you fucking let loose. And I'm not doing it.
No, I didn't even know that was a thing, a Trump account.
Yeah, look it up. You can it's $1,000 investment from the government for between 2025 and 2028 if you've had a kid. They qualify for $1,000 investment account. That'll grow, they say.
And you got to put the $1,000 up for it initially?
Nope. Trump puts it in.
I don't know about that.
Exactly. It's like tax form. He even titled it the Trump tax form, and it's form 4547.
Of course.
Yeah, of course. This guy, you know who Brandon Kroll is, right? So it's like,
oh yeah,
something weird's going on with all those numbers, dude. And if everything is kind of like how you're saying, this esoteric knowledge beacon, we're all in the same container just bouncing off of it. It's like, what the fuck does that guy know? Because he's privy to higher knowledge, and it's like some of the people he hangs out with too unlocks some of that knowledge, so.
Oh, dude, have you ever seen the so it was like the week after or the month after, there was a Time magazine article that was talking about 9/11, and it showed that there was literally like a guy falling from one of the Twin Towers, and he's like on his way down. It was like a famous picture, right? I saw Owen Benjamin bring this up, and he thought something that, I didn't agree with what he thought the symbolism was. But whenever you're looking at it, you zoom all the way in on it. And that guy that's falling, he's like, it's basically like looking at it from the perspective that this is like a little ant that's crawling on a piece of paper. Like, you can hardly see this guy, right? But, now with computers, you can zoom all the way in. What's really strange is that whenever you zoom all the way in of this guy falling off of one of the Twin Towers because it just got whatever happened, it's so weird because you can see what position he's in as he's falling down. And have you ever seen, are you familiar with the tarot cards and the Hanged Man?
Oh, yeah.
So the Hanged Man is, he's hanging upside down. He's hanging by one foot with a rope from a tree, right? But he's laying there. He's relaxed. It's like not a big deal. And the entire goal is, the meaning of the Hanged Man card is like to surrender, which is really strange. Whenever you take a picture of this guy falling from a Twin Tower on 9/11, and he's in a hanged man position, which means to surrender, right? Like, you could have caught him at any frame of him falling down, but you had to get one that exactly looked like the hanged man, which means surrender. So it's like, well, surrender to who? Like, surrender to whoever carried this out. I don't believe for one second it was fucking Middle Easterners. I don't believe that.
No.
There's no way. So what, they hijacked a fucking plane? I mean, I guess, back in those days you can get away with a little bit more, but I don't know about that. Like, these people,
Three planes.
Yeah,
No,
hijacked
4,
3.
right? Yeah, 4. Actually, one went down, right?
Yep. The Flight 93 went down in Pennsylvania. Yeah.
and it just cuts through the building like butter.
Mm-hmm.
Come on,
but-
dude.
And yeah, dude, they can even hit steel light poles and just keep on, not even lose a part, bro.
Don't forget Blue Origin just exploded the other day though too, and didn't even touch the steel beams on it, right? That shit survived.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah,
There's-
if one of those airplanes hits a fucking bird, it's out of commission for a month.
Yeah, dude. Oh my goodness. This is just a little off topic, but still on airplanes. I rode one not too long ago because we went to Vegas from Colorado. Those motherfuckers are like twice the size now. Have you been on a plane recently? They're two of them together.
Well, I rode on a was it on Frontier or Spirit? What was it? Is it Frontier or Spirit, the one that just like collapsed? Was it Spirit airline?
Spirit.
Yeah, Spirit.
RIP to the most uncomfortable seat in airline history, but the cheapest seats. So, you take what you can get. But yeah, I just went out to, back in April, we flew out to Vegas for WrestleMania. And
oh, fuck yeah.
dude, that was crazy.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm a wrestling dork, so it's crazy to me, but
Me too.
But dude, all right. Were you going to say something about the airplane?
No, I was just going to say how it's really okay. So it seemed like I don't know. It was just a lot bigger than I thought. And it seemed like it was fake in the middle. I was like, but they didn't use any of the middle seats, right? It was all wide fucking open, but it was twice as long. And it almost felt like it was Boeing. That's all I had to say. I was like, this thing seems like a tin can that's going to break in half now.
Yeah, it's weird, dude. It's weird that we have so much faith that we're going to get there safely. You know what I mean? Like,
I know. And we live in Colorado, so we have DIA, right? Which is a massive fucking airport. Denver International's huge. And now you got to get on the planes from the outside too. I was like, what the biggest, this airport's huge and they're walking us fucking outside.
that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we got connected from Denver and it was all outside. I was like,
Yeah.
dude, I can't see any of the murals in here. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah. That shit's
Dude,
weird.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, the company I work for, we did the remodel on Denver International Airport. And dude, there's like the tunnels underneath. You can't tell. Have you ever seen Severance on Apple TV?
I know of it, but I never watched it.
That's what it looked like under DIA. Just fucking concrete walls of everywhere and random doors in these tunnels. And people would like drive under there and know exactly where they were going. I have no idea how. There's no signs. There's no lights. It's all fucking concrete and red doors. So,
Yeah, I think that shit is probably underneath the entire United States.
oh yeah.
You know,
Has to be.
like those underground cities for sure. You know what's really funny is that Trump, because there was those what were they called before they were called freedom cities? They were called something like basically technocrat cities where you're being monitored with every like facial impression you make, essentially, right? And Trump ran on the idea that these cities are never going to come. It's never going to happen. He gets into office and like in his first 2 months, he's like, "We're going to build these freedom cities where you're going to be safer than ever, and we're going to monitor literally everything." It's like you just took the same idea and put a little red, white, and blue on it. Like that's all you did, So
And
it's
they're
crazy.
I've said this before and Matt's heard me say it, but I have a buddy who's over there right now in the Middle East, in like the Gaza area. He's in special forces and he stays, dude, like in this part of Egypt that's 30 minutes from Gaza, right? And it's fucking immaculate, dude. There's like nice hotels, there's bars, there's Rolexes, Burger King, dental work, all that shit. 30 minutes away, death and destruction, right? People completely wiped out. And it made me think how those freedom cities and shit, they're like everything you'll need within 15 minutes from this end, get you to the middle, and then 15 minutes, you're 30 minutes separated from everything you need. And I started thinking, and I was like, dude, you don't even give a fuck 30 minutes away that 150,000 people are dead. Like, and they're conditioning you for that now that you're going to end up in these 15-minute to 15-minute end freedom cities and go, I don't give a shit about over there, It's almost like a gang neighborhood again, I feel like is what they're pushing it to.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Mm-hmm.
It's all conditioning whenever you really think about it.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
It's weird. I mean, they condition
being
us.
tarred and feathered used to be a thing, Like if you screwed up in politics, that was like a big thing. And now,
We should just kill them.
I mean, that was like now that would be unheard of, dude.
Like if I fuck up and I cost 3 or 4 people their livelihood or like hurt them or 2 or 3 people die, I'm liable for the death penalty. But if you're a president or a politician in charge of millions of people and some go down wrong, it's just like, no big deal. It's like, nah, dude, you should be lined up too. But,
Oh, especially whenever it's like, what was it, like 60% of the people that are dying out there are women and children.
mm-hmm.
It's like the craziest statistic to where it's like, dude, I heard somebody, as far as like speaking on Intel and Mossad and all that kind of stuff, and what they dude, their war tactics are fucking like caveman. Like, it's crazy. If they got an idea that the guy they're after is hiding in this one apartment building with thousands of other people, they're going to take out the entire building. They don't care about the rest of those people that are in there. They're taking them all out. Don't matter if you got dogs, you got a fucking goldfish, you got a baby, you got, doesn't matter.
If
like, the
not
target
whole
is the target.
block.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They say that now. There's whistleblowers out who were there on that October 7th day, and they say, dude, like, at one point, Israel got so crazy with the IDF and all that when it just shit was really hitting the fan. They're now saying like the helicopters and stuff that were going around were the ones killing everybody. The IDF were, without knowing, like exactly how you were saying. Well, we think there's 2 or 3 bad guys right here, so they just leveled 100 of them, and they were like, oh shit! It turned out 98 of them were civilians.
Yeah, that whole like fucking story stinks to high hell to me. Because first of all, you got literally, Israel is known for like the best surveillance in the world. Literally, like, nobody has like a better like defense system as far as like technology goes than Israel. Like, they're so far advanced, even above us. Like, we don't even have that good of a surveillance and, you know, that kind of deep state kind of shit. I'm sure we do in other areas for sure. Like, our phones are monitoring us, our computers, our TVs, all that kind of stuff. But whenever it comes to literally cameras everywhere, it's like Hunger Games. It's like the fucking cameras are in the tree branches kind of thing, right? And it's crazy that whole October 7th thing happens because of like, it was like paratroopers or some shit, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you couldn't see these people floating out of the sky miles away. You're supposed to have like this whole, what's it called, like the Iron Dome or some shit like that, where nothing like, dude, birds get zapped out. Like,
they say they could like see
motion.
a mouse walking outside on the dirt. The seismic wave will even pick that up. But
dude,
paratroopers,
it's crazy. It is crazy, dude.
And they were like ancient paratroopers. It wasn't even like high tech. It was like the fucking dude who landed on the Riddick Bowe, or what was that, Lennox Lewis or whatever, Riddick Bowe, where the guy parachuted in and broke his back. It was like one of those dudes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like some Owen Hart shit. But yeah, it's so weird, dude. And then you find out that like Hamas is a creation of Netanyahu's in the first place. It's like, what are we talking about here now? Mm-hmm. You know, like, some people believe all this. Oh yeah, like a lot of people do.
The 60 and up crowd 100% believes it. Okay, one more thing though. I really want to get your opinion, dude. So I'm a big, like, if you can create, okay, your own destiny or where you're at, or, you know, even at the hypnosis state of all that, right? You can unlock these new things. I saw this movie one time called The Nines, and it's Ryan Reynolds, and he like gets house arrested, and then all of a sudden this weird shit starts happening everywhere, and it's himself in different timelines in the same house, right? And you come to find out that he's this god that can create avatars, right, and worlds, and he gets bored where he's at, so he's created all these worlds and he's jumped from them to take care of the people, and then he gets bored and goes to the next one. Well, he forgets that he's that because he spent so much time with it, you know. And like,
how have I never seen this,
dude? You need to watch it. The Nines. Yeah, it's crazy. But you know, there's all these people around him trying to remind him what he is without telling him so he can get to it. But it started making me think, and I was like, what if you get stuck in like a hypnosis state? What if you meditate so far and then you can't come back, you know? Like you because time is, like we were saying, relevant, you know, you get to that, it's all linear at that point. Maybe you were gone for 10 million fucking years, you know, and all of a sudden you've lost yourself in there. What's your opinion on that?
Well, the answer varies depending on which lens you look through. As far as like hypnosis goes, I can always bring somebody back. Like, there are ways in which, like, I'm like a master. I don't want to say a master. I've looked heavily into this thing called NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, which is a vital tool for any hypnotist out there, because it helps you, instead of leading leading on and suggesting, you're doing it like in a way that helps them unravel it rather than you tell them what they're experiencing. You know, so it's important in that sense. But conversely, I also have, you know, the tools in my tool bag in order to be able to pull somebody out really easy. Now, as far as like, there are people who have gone into like long meditations. Like if you ever hear like the yogi masters and the gurus and stuff like that, people know whenever somebody is a master or a guru or somebody who is on their way to enlightenment or nirvana or stuff like that, because a person will be able to sit there in meditation for like 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, sometimes months at a time, not eating, not shitting, not peeing, not sleeping. Like you're in the deepest parts of the mind. Like you're there, right? And just to bring it all the way back, like the first rule or the first law in Hermeticism, if you've ever looked into it, the first law of Hermeticism is that all is mind. So everything is mind, and everything that we see is of the mind. So that's as far as Hermeticism goes, and the Emerald Tablet and all that kind of stuff. So whenever somebody is able to get into that flow state and stay there, they're then seen as somebody who is enlightened, because they have essentially, like, I don't want to say forgot about their body, but they've gone beyond their body to where they have trained their body not to wake them up to do all of these mundane things like eat and, you know, go to the bathroom and whatever. It's really strange. And I think that we always have that one thing that's always going to bring us back. Some people call it a silver cord. I'll give you an example. I did a show, which is really strange, the timing about how it all happened. But I did a show on sleep paralysis one time, like a couple of years ago. And I was really trying to figure out, like, what are people experiencing in sleep paralysis? Because you hear all these horror stories of like people that are seeing aliens and seeing fucking ghosts and demons and all of this scary shit. But then the further you look into it, you realize that the reason why people are seeing that is because whenever they wake up and they can't move their body, they start to panic, and they go, which causes them to go to into a fear state. Well, the state in which you're in, you're essentially in a trance whenever you have sleep paralysis. Like you're literally 1 foot in the dream world, 1 foot in the real world. You're in a trance state, and some people will call that the gamma state, or the theta state, or the somnambulistic state, or there's another one that's a funny word and it's not coming to me. But either way, these are all like states of mind where like reality is very lucid. And so I was doing a bunch of research on that, and I was like, but then you hear like other people who are able to have sleep paralysis, but they come to the awareness that like, oh, this is sleep paralysis. There's nothing to be scared of. It's okay. It's not a big deal, right? And I've heard of people having like out-of-body experiences on that. I'm not going to lie. For the longest time, I did not know what to believe about out-of-body experiences. I was like, oh, okay, these people just got vivid imaginations. They're imagining themselves walking out of their body and, you know, whatever, right? Like you hear all the different stories and you're like, okay, you know, I could definitely imagine that, but am I experiencing that, you know? So I did a bunch of research on it, and I was like, you know, hey, at least I know I'm prepared if that time comes, you know? And it was literally like 2 or 3 days later, I wake up in fucking sleep paralysis, and I'm like, yes, let's go. Like, I'm excited because I know what to expect. And I'm already like, I've come to the frame of mind to where, all right, my body is mine, but I'm not my body. You know, it's like my car is mine, but I'm not my car. You know, so if I can't move my body, it's not really a big deal because I'm more than just that anyway. So I'm not going to freak out. Like if I can't move my body, this is time to experiment. You know, this is time to where if you're going to have an out-of-body experience, supposedly this is the easiest way to do it.
Right,
and so
Stephen Hawking was on to something.
Yeah. So I'm like, all right, yes, I'm excited. I'm in sleep paralysis, and I'm like trying to not wake myself up out of sleep paralysis. Like I try and give my body a little nudge to see if I for sure am, and I'm definitely in a sleep paralysis. It's like my body is like almost imagine like the feeling that I get is like, imagine that there's like golden ropes tied around your body and tied around all your limbs and you can't move them. You know, you're just like stuck there. And so I'm like, all right, let me try and see what happens if I try and go out of body. And so, dude, it was so weird because I've never experienced this before, going out of body, at least not to my understanding. And yet I knew how to do it. It was so strange. Like, it was like my body remembered how to go out of body. It was so weird. It was like I could feel myself, call it my astral body or what have you, like trying to break free of my body. It was like doing this. Like my body wasn't moving, but like my energetic body was trying to pierce the veil of my physical body, essentially. And I was able to finally jump out. And dude, I looked back and I was like, oh my God, I fucking did it. This is crazy, right? Like, this is wild. And I'm looking back, I'm like, holy shit, I'm still laying there in the same exact spot. Like, I'm not making this up. Like, this is crazy shit. This is next level shit, you know? And so I'm like, all right, I need to prove this. I need to prove that I did this. I need to prove that this is a real thing. And so I always sleep with my door shut, by the way. Like, I don't know about you. I can't sleep with that fucking thing open. It creeps me out. So even if I'm home alone, hell no. I'm sleeping with it shut.
I fucking hate it open. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to hear anything from out there if there's whatever. So I open up my bedroom door, right? And I go out into the living room and I notice that my TV is on. And I'm like, that's weird. I'm at home alone. The kids aren't with me. You know, I'm single. And so I don't have anybody living with me. And I look at the TV, I was like, man, why is my TV on? That's really strange. But I thought in that frame of mind, it's like, it's weird because your brain doesn't process in the same way. It's like your brain thinks differently and like whenever you're out of body. And so whenever I saw the TV on, I was like, oh, this will be my proof that whenever I wake up, all I got to do is just go out into the living room and I see that the TV's off and bang, that'll be my proof. That'll be what I can leave behind. So I go and find the remote and like, I couldn't like pick it up. It was like I could, but it was harder to pick it up. I remember that. Like, it was like I had to like figure out how to pick it up. But anyway, I ended up doing it and I hit the off button and I'm all proud and I'm like, oh shit, this is my proof. I'm going to tell everybody about it. And I go back into my room because I felt like there was like this pulling for me. Like, I knew that I only had a specific amount of time. It was like an internal clock. And I don't know how I knew that. It was just like built in, you know? And so as soon as I turned off the TV, I walked back in my room, laid down in my bed, got back into my body and fell asleep. Like, I didn't even lay there. Like, it was just, I fell right to sleep, which is really strange. Like, why wouldn't I just lay there as my body, you know? Mm-hmm. But for some reason, I just fell back asleep. I woke up the next morning and, I remember, you know, it's hard to wake up and remember everything, whatever, from the night before. But I was like, oh, wait a second, I went out of body. Did I really do that? And I was thinking like, oh, I know I left something behind to prove to myself that I actually did. What was it? I was like, oh my God, dude, I just turned off the fucking TV. I never leave the TV on anyway. Like, that would be something stupid. Why would I leave the TV on and then see it as proof that I was actually out there, that I turned it off? You know, I'm like, and I'm kind of getting all depressed and I'm like, okay, well, you know, it was fun. It was, you know, maybe it was just a cool dream, right? Like, not really a big deal. But then I sit up out of my bed and I look out and I'm like, my bedroom door's open. I'm like, oh my God, I know I never sleep with that fucking thing open, right? And so that was my proof that my proof to me anyway, I can't prove it to everybody, but my proof to myself was that I for sure got out of body because my bedroom door was open. But point of that whole thing is that like, there's something that is pulling you back, that you are attached to it. Call it quantum entanglement or what have you, but like something is keeping you attached to that. And it could be like different layers of the subtle body. You know, I don't know. If you look into Rudolf Steiner and Blavatsky and I mean, even certain parts of Hinduism and Buddhism, they talk about these different layers of your subtle body. And maybe you could split off and I don't know. It's really strange. It's almost like you have a conscious mind and a subconscious mind, right? It's like you can divide them in a really strange way, which is exactly what we do whenever I hypnotize somebody. I'm turning off your conscious mind, that part of you that is like aware well, seemingly aware. You think you're aware, but there's actually a lot more information that you're not taking in, but your subconscious is actually taking in. They say that we only take in like 10% of the whole of what the subconscious takes in. So maybe that's what's going on. I don't know.
Which is crazy because it's like,
I don't think there's anything
where's
to be
the other
scared of.
90%, right?
Well, supposedly the other 90% can be, tapped into in meditation, past life regression, psychedelics, any kind of trance state you can find yourself in. Like, even if you're just driving, like your mind will wander. If you're in the shower, your mind will wander, and it comes in. Some people call them downloads or whatever. It's like, for some reason, you get access to like the deeper bits of information whenever your conscious mind is paying attention to something, and your subconscious mind is like, you're aware of your subconscious mind because the thing that your conscious mind is doing is like mundane. So you don't need to give it your full attention, kind of thing, And that's why I think like showering, like, do we really need to pay attention when we shower? Like, we're just kind of going through the motions. It's like, it's, habitual. And so, that I've noticed that if I'm listening to somebody that like, maybe they're a little boring or what have you, I'm trying to pay attention, but like you almost drift into like a daydreaming place.
Yep.
And sometimes they say if you practice enough, that like going into that daydream place, you can have access to a lot of information that you otherwise wouldn't have access to. And so there's just deeper aspects of ourselves, but it all just leads to even deeper parts of ourselves. And like all of the answers that we are ever looking for is actually inside of us, but we're looking in the outer world for those answers. And sometimes we get those answers in the outer world, which would make sense if we're the ones that are projecting it into the outer world anyway.
Exactly. Nice. Dude, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, sorry, I'm a little long-winded tonight.
No.
I like it. Yeah, I like the long-windedness too. Especially because it's like what is it? You're good at being like a layman's term guy. You know a fucking lot, dude. You're deep in the books, right? Like, you know a lot about that side of, what is it? Mysticism, I guess, would be a good way to sum up kind of the things we were talking about,
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the long-windedness of it is good because you're very layman's term about it. You make it somebody like I can understand it, where we're coming at.
Yeah, and that's one thing that it's often said that all of the initiated mystics of ancient, they were a bit snobby. Like, it's said that a lot of the Gnostics back in the day were really snobby with their information because I know information and you're just an imbecile. And I'm not trying to do that. Like, I think that all of this stuff, if you have a curious and open mind, anybody is able to grasp it. Like, it just takes a little bit of dedication. That's all. Like, it's not too much,
Yep.
and whenever you're learning this kind of stuff, like if you find it hard to really like digest, try and break it down in your simplest terms. And especially nowadays, you got AI that can break it down for you, like, or you can ask some other mystics or some other masters. They're all over the place. The old adage is that whenever the student is ready, the teacher will come. And I believe that.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
that's where I come from, dude.
Where can everybody find you?
MetaMystics Podcast. You can come check it out on Spotify or Apple, wherever you get your podcasts at. We're also on YouTube, and we have a Patreon. But if you want to have access to all of everything that we do over on MetaMystics, I just created a website that is all inclusive. It's free to go over and check out, and it'll show you all of our socials. It'll show you how to email us and everything. It's kind of like an all-in-one. I got really tired of Linktree. Because it's like spelled weird and people fuck it up all the time. And, sometimes it's not very reliable. So I was like, all right, I'm going to create my own kind of thing. Not surprisingly, metamystics.com was taken and they wanted to charge me $4,000 to buy it. And I'm like,
holy shit.
I'm not doing that. It's a website,
Yeah.
But I was like, what's something that people would remember? And so I created onlymystics.com. If you want to go and check it out over there, I feel like it's something easy everybody can remember. And you'll have access to all of our socials, our email, our Patreon, our YouTube, our podcast players, everything. It's all over there, and give you a little bit of information about my training in hypnosis and past life regressions and Dolores Cannon and all that kind of stuff. It's a real simple, easy place to go and check it all out.
Hell yeah, dude. Only mystics. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. Had to get
Nice
weird.
Yes, hell yeah. Well, we are the End of Days Best Friends. Dude, and actually, we got End of Days Best Friends. I know you're into it. Gematria for our names together. How weird is that shit?
Whoa.
Yeah.
That is, hey, it's all fucking divine, dude.
It's all something. It's all something. Anyway, check them out. Seriously, MetaMystics Podcast. Jonathan, onlymystics.com too. We are the End of Days Best Friends. I'm your boy, Michael.
And I'm Matt.
And we will catch y'all on the next one, folks.
If you don't first subscribe, press your head.